If you've ever made enough money to pay for your vacation while on vacation, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. I hope that you all had a wonderful, long holiday weekend. For you Americans out there, I hope that your 4th of July celebration was amazing. You have all 10 toes and fingers? I hope so, because that was your only homework for this weekend. For those of you anywhere else in the world, I hope that you enjoyed your time off or find a way to celebrate with your American friends. We're back for another full week here. In fact, this is the first full trading week of the third quarter. We'll see how the market ends up handling this here today. We've got some green arrows early on, We had a Nasdaq that opened higher when the futures opened. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces. We start here with Solitary Soldier. Good morning. You are first here today. Welcome back. Happy Monday. Derek, welcome back. I had to use your opener there because I was so happy to see that our members are absolutely killing it. That is fantastic. That is exactly what we are hoping for. Good to see it, Derek. That's a heck of a way to start a Monday. Get those vibes high. Crispy Biscuit, good morning and welcome back. Pot G, good afternoon from Belgium. Pot G, we got a match coming up here today. I hope that you are able to enjoy it. It should be fun. If it's half as good as the England-Mexico match we got last night, we are in for a treat on Monday night. That is for sure. Robert, good morning. Welcome back. Zach McCracken, good morning. Welcome back. And good morning to the Benzie gang, of course. Yes, that girl, good morning. Welcome back. Francis, good morning. Welcome back. Zach, don't want to ruin the mood? Impossible for you to ruin the mood, buddy. Believe me, the mood and the vibes are high. It is impossible. The red card revocation ruined the integrity of the tournament for me, and if anything, will haunt the U.S. team if they win. That is an interesting take. Correcting a call that was wrong ruins the integrity of the tournament. A heck of a take nonetheless. Try and enjoy it. This is the best World Cup I've seen. I'm in my 40s at this point, and it has been fantastic. Liam, good morning. Welcome back. Andas buys DYZN. Hey, can I just get a shout out to Andas for throwing out the news, at least before we start, so at minimum I can read it. I did have AI start to break down the PR. I do have some thoughts on that. We can get to that when we get to the pre-market pulse segment. We can kind of talk about where Andas might be from that. Liam says, Ryan, new thoughts about MU after Burry's short disclosure. So this is a really good question. I'm sure we're going to take a look at Micron today. Last week, we were doing some napkin math about whether or not Micron or what kind of price Micron could go to if it bounces. So we'll take a look at the chart. I know we finally closed under that 20-day moving average, but I don't want to rule out a bounce just yet. Remember, July, very positive seasonality. We had the Nasdaq trading higher here. So let's see. We'll take a look at the chart. We'll come up with some different spots. I'm not ready to say memory is going to sell off because Burry. I'm just not there yet. Brian, good morning. Welcome back. Acorns, good morning. Welcome back. Marionette, good morning. Welcome back. Excuse me. Daniel, good morning. Welcome back. Just passing through. Good morning. Janie, it's good to see you as always. Good morning. Dimebag, good morning. Jim, good morning. Graf, good morning. David, good morning. Happy rest of the year. It's going to be an interesting one. So you're not kidding about that. Actually, CNBC had Tom Lee on this morning. He was talking about the market maybe trading up to 7,800 on the S&P cash, then pulling back to like 6,800, which 1,000 points on the S&P cash would absolutely feel like a bear market in the actual time that it's doing that. And then after pulling back to 6,800, going above 8,000 by the year end. So I'll just say this, David, if Tom Lee's prediction comes 80% true, you are absolutely right. The rest of the year is going to be an interesting one. We're going to monitor it. That's what we do here day-to-day basis. Bernhard, good morning. Welcome back. Lance, good morning. Welcome back. Tyler, good morning. Welcome back. Dirkus, it's great to see you. Yes, I did have a wonderful 4th of July, and I hope that you did as well, of course. Buffalo by Bicycle, good morning. Cynthia, welcome back. It's great to see you. Robot to Trade, good morning. Welcome back. Astro Kev, good morning. Welcome back. Maverick, good morning. Welcome back. Chris, good morning. Welcome back. Wiss, it's great to see you, my man. David's doing some math. I did the math. Burry's valuation model doesn't always pan out, except that one time. That's actually a really good post right there. I absolutely love that. Not a cat lady says, look like a view from DAC. Not sure what you mean, but good morning and welcome. Mad Dog, what are we thinking about SpaceX? So this is a really good question. I'm sure we'll definitely take a look at SpaceX. It did hold 150 and it looks strong here in the pre-market. And let's see if it continues to trade with tech. That would be something else. Not a cat lady says it looks like a view of the Detroit Athletic Club. Yes, indeed, it is. So when we made these, we put Detroit in the background. And shout out to you for noticing. I'm actually, even though I'm from Chicago, I'm a tad bit embarrassed that I didn't get the DAC acronym. Shout out to you. We got some sharp eyes here in the chat this morning. This bodes well for the entire week, to be quite honest with you. Crankbait, good morning. Welcome back. Matthew, good morning. Welcome back. Unpopular Truth, good morning. Welcome back. Yeah, not a cat lady. You're one step ahead of me already. I'm going to try to catch up. And then Lay, good morning. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started with our stock market today. All right, futures mixed here this morning. S&P futures up 0.44%. They actually were up a little bit higher, but so far here in the pre-market, it's holding its VWAP and it's holding higher. The Dow futures were positive earlier, but have since crept into red. Now they're only down 0.1%. So Dow futures down 0.1%. And they were in the green earlier this morning. Nasdaq leading the way higher, and it has been doing this since the open of the futures last night on Sunday. Nasdaq up 1.18% here ahead of Monday's open. Now let's take a look at some cues from last session here, as well as what we have on deck here for today. Healthcare, consumer staples, and utility stocks recorded the biggest gains on Thursday, driving most S&P 500 sectors to a close on a positive note. However, information technology and communication services stock closed lower. U.S. stock futures advanced on Monday as the Dow, Nasdaq, and S&P 500 indices rose following Thursday's mixed close. The positive move followed a long Independence Day weekend, which saw the Nasdaq composite move down amid a decline of semiconductor stocks, even while the Dow Jones Index surged to record highs during Thursday's session. Major updates this week include Elon Musk's SpaceX, or ticker SPCX, joining the Nasdaq 100 index before Tuesday's opening bell. This week's quarterly results from Pepsi, ticker PEP, and Delta Airlines, ticker DAL, will show investors how uncertainty and volatile oil prices have impacted consumers. SK Hynix will also list on the Nasdaq this Friday. Job growth cooled sharply in June, with payrolls rising just 57,000, well below the 115,000 consensus, and down from a revised 129,000 in May. April was also cut by 31,000, bringing the combined revisions to a net minus 74,000. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.46%, and the 2-year bond was at 4.11%. The CME Group's Fed Watch Tool projections show that the markets are pricing in a 75.9% likelihood that the Federal Reserve leaves the current interest rates unchanged during the June meeting. Now, we've got several stocks in focus here for you today. The first one is actually going to be SanDisk here today. The ticker is SNDK, and shares rose 5.1% in the pre-market on Monday, rebounding from Thursday's sell-off. This comes as Samsung's third quarter report, which is due Tuesday, and SK Hynix's NASDAQ listing on Friday would have a major bearing on the memory trade. And just as an aside here, it'll be interesting to see how all of the memory names trade leading into that listing for SK Hynix. The next stock on our list here is going to be Tesla. The ticker is TSLA, and it was 1.29% higher after it reported second quarter deliveries of 480,126 vehicles, which did surpass estimates. The next stock on our list is going to be Intel, ticker INTC. It rose 3.46% after it reportedly hiked prices on its latest Arrow Lake desktop chips and select high-end data center processors, including the Xeon 8000 series. The next stock on our list is going to be CrowdStrike Holdings, and the ticker is CRWD. It was 0.16% higher after it began trading on a split-adjusted basis following its previously announced 4-for-1 stock split last week. Shareholders of record as of June 25th received 3 additional shares for each share held after the market closed on July 1st. The split did not change the company's market value, but reduced the per-share price and increased the number of outstanding shares. My big takeaway here on CrowdStrike is, will it trade like other names that we've seen that split the price, namely Chipotle, which hasn't broken its downtrend since said split? The last stock on our list is going to be Ford Motor Company, and the ticker is F. It was 0.22% higher despite reporting a sharp drop in electric vehicle sales in the second quarter of 2026. In a report published on Thursday, Ford sold over 9,746 EVs in the U.S., which demonstrated a 40.7% year-over-year decline compared with second quarter 2025 numbers of 16,438 units. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the chart here. Johnny saying, sorry, that was the wrong one. Phantom saying, is anyone else buffering? Let me know if you guys are having any trouble. I have no indication from my end that we have any type of connection issue at all. The one thing that we do see in this case, if you refresh your stream, perhaps it goes away. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't see any issue here. Y'all have to let me know if we're seeing more of that. Producer, let me know if there's anything that we can do about that. Now, looking at the SPY chart here, we haven't broke out of the range that we're in. Now, it's great to see some of the green arrows here. Great to see SPY up by about 0.5% here in the pre-market, currently looking at 748.43. But what we're trying to break here is this trend line. This trend line originates at the all-time high, goes through the recent high of June 15th, and it looks like we're setting up a test for that level here today. Now, I have this number. I'm just kind of eyeballing it here by putting my cursor over it. I have this at 751.81. This is notable because the high from Thursday was 751.31. So that all-time, the high from Thursday, likely to be a key level today if we do continue to push higher here. I got a stat for you on Nasdaq futures as well. But we'll do that when we get to street tweets here. That might just give you an idea of how to look at today. But upside level right now here on the SPY, going to be that trend line. We're looking at 751 and change. Also, don't forget, last week we saw 750 providing ample resistance for the SPY. Really, until we can clear that out, that is also going to be another key level here today, at least intraday. As far as some of the downside levels go here, I actually think we're probably in good shape down to 740. Now, I have the 20-day moving average here at 740.54, so 740.5. And that, is about 50 cents higher than the support/resistance area that we've outlined, that horizontal area. So I actually think we have some pretty good room under our current price. It'll be very crucial, I think, today for trading purposes to see if we're able to have any type of strength. And then the other thing is, we've seen this a couple of times recently, too. We've had strength in the morning only to be followed by an afternoon of weakness. So make sure you have a plan here today. If you're going to trade the morning, make sure you have stops in, or if you're doing short-term trading, make sure you get some of those gains booked, just in case we have one of those afternoon pullbacks. But we'll see. We'll see what we end up getting. Now, let's take a look at some insights from analysts here, and then we'll go through some of the news that we have as well. Top economist Mohamed El-Erian highlights a shifting landscape for the U.S. economy and stock market, marked by a cooling labor market and central bank reform. Analyzing June's job data, he notes that while non-farm payrolls rose by a sluggish 57,000, solid earnings growth suggests that, quote, the supply side is currently the dominant driver of the labor market, end quote. This cooler data has notably helped moderate recent rate hike fears among investors. For the stock market, El-Erian observes, quote, further equity market rotation amid somewhat higher yields, end quote. While the overall quarter ended on a solid note for equities, underlying turbulence remains, particularly because, quote, the AI and semiconductor trade remain volatile, end quote. Looking forward, he anticipates a complex policy environment under new Fed Chair Kevin Warsh, who is shifting the central bank, quote, away from explicit forward guidance, end quote. El-Erian expects upcoming FOMC minutes to reveal a, quote, tricky balance within the FOMC between those worried about sticky inflation and those more focused on potential labor market vulnerability, end quote. Ultimately, the market's trajectory will depend on whether the broader services sector can keep pace with AI in driving economic expansion. Now, it's Monday, so let's take a look at the upcoming economic data we have on tap here for the entire week. On Monday, June's U.S. Services PMI data will be released by 9:45. June's ISM report on business services PMI data will be out by 10, and June's global services PMI data will be released by 11. No scheduled data for Tuesday, so we'll see how tomorrow ends up going. Maybe we'll have some news to break down. On Wednesday, we get May's monthly wholesale trade data. That'll be released by 10. We also have the minutes of the Federal Reserve Open Market Committee meeting and economic forecast released at 2, and May's consumer credit data will be out by 3. The Bank of England's Deputy Governor Sarah Bradeen, FRB New York President John Williams, and FRB Dallas Fed President Lori Logan will speak at the Future of Market Liquidity and Functioning workshop at 8 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday. On Thursday, we get initial jobless claims for the week ending July 4th. They'll be released at 8:30, and June's existing home sales data will be out by 10. No data is scheduled for our Friday session as well. So we do have some data here today. Really, the big one's going to be the Thursday jobs data, but otherwise, looks like just kind of a normal week here, at least so far. Okay, now, one of the big stories here, we talked about it when it happened with Apple. Apple had to raise their prices. We saw Apple stock trade down and then back up from all of that. Well, that contagion is spreading. After Apple, Intel raises chip prices by up to $50. And guess what they cited? You guessed correctly, market dynamics. Silicon Valley giants are aggressively hiking hardware prices as a wave of macroeconomic inflation sweeps through the technology sector. Following Apple, ticker AAPL's recent consumer price jumps, semiconductor titan Intel, or ticker INTC, has instituted markups across both its consumer desktop and enterprise server chip lineups, attributing the shifting market dynamics and production realities. According to a report from Tom's Hardware, Intel has implemented target pricing updates that hit everyday PC builders and data centers alike. On the consumer side, Intel bumped the recommended customer prices, or RCPs, of its latest Arrow Lake desktop chips, specifically the Core Ultra 7 270K plus and Core Ultra 7 250K plus, by about $30 to $50. Easy for me to say. However, the most drastic increase targets enterprise customers. Select high-end data center processors, including the Xeon 8000 series Emerald Rapids family, now carry prices hundreds or even thousands of dollars higher than prior cycles. For instance, the flagship Xenon 6980P is now listed at a staggering $13,955. Insane. Benzinga has reached out to Intel for an official comment regarding these portfolio adjustments. Quote, the recent pricing updates reflect current market dynamics, including rising supply chain costs and strong demand for our Intel Core Ultra 200S Plus processors, end quote. That was directly from the Intel spokesperson. Unlike other tech firms that rely heavily on third-party foundries, all affected Intel Xeon processors are produced internally. This means Intel cannot shift blame to external suppliers like Taiwan Semiconductor, for example, ticker TSM. Instead, the selective markups indicate the company is actively capitalizing on specialized enterprise needs. Rather than a standard cost pass-through, the current price hikes are tightly associated with strong demand for specific high-performance computing SKUs that routinely outpace Intel's available supply. So how will that do for Intel? You know what we might as well do real quick? We might as well go back to Pro. Here's a look at Intel's chart. Here's where we sit. Now, interestingly enough, we are up by 3.38% today. So I know that the daily candles here look like we're rolling over, breaking the 20-day, which we did do, and we closed beneath it. But we have since held the trend line. This trend line originated back on the top candle from May 11th, and this also induced a breakout here. Now, can we use this as support? That'll be the question. The other question here is going to be that 20-day. I've got a value here, 123.76. Our current price is 124.45. So we're sitting above the 20-day. Can we close above that 123 3/4 area? If so, I think we're probably good for a 140 test coming here this week. That'd be my best guess by looking at the chart and the news here. We know about the demand for these chips. It has not waned. So the fact that the price has increased, probably not the end of the world. That would be where I sit on it right now, at least. All right, let's go back to our next news story here. Micron versus SK Hynix. We did talk about SK Hynix having their listing here on Friday. How is that going to be tied to Micron? How is that going to change the calculus? And perhaps most importantly, how is that going to affect our trades? Micron Technology, or ticker MU, has long been Wall Street's go-to AI memory stock, but that could soon change as SK Hynix prepares for what could be a record-breaking Nasdaq debut, bringing NVIDIA, ticker NVDA's, two biggest high-bandwidth memory suppliers onto the same U.S. exchange. The listing gives U.S. investors direct access to SK Hynix alongside Micron, which has until now been the primary U.S.-listed pure-play memory company benefiting from the AI boom. Both companies have emerged as beneficiaries of the AI infrastructure build-out, with investors increasingly favoring suppliers of critical components over technology companies that are spending billions to develop AI capabilities, or the AI infrastructure trade. The South Korean chip maker has established itself as one of NVIDIA's largest suppliers of AI memory chips. At the same time, Micron has expanded its presence in qualifying its latest memory products for NVIDIA's Blackwell platform. Futurum Equity's chief market strategist Shay Ballur said the listing gives U.S. investors, quote, a second direct way to play the AI memory boom, end quote, alongside, of course, Micron. SK Hynix plans to raise as much as 45.45 trillion won, or 29.68 billion USD, through an ADR listing, potentially setting a new record for the largest U.S. ADR listing, surpassing Alibaba, or ticker BABA, $21.8 billion listing in 2014. Pricing is expected to be finalized later this week before trading begins on July 10th. That was all reported by Reuters over the weekend. The company, which has a market cap of about 1.1 trillion, said it will use the proceeds of its expanded chip manufacturing and advanced packaging capacity as it ramps up production of next-generation high-bandwidth, or HBM, chips to meet the growing AI demand. Now, remember, one of the things that we had talked about as far as the memory trade goes, one of the things that could really kind of shake this whole thing up or send those stocks tumbling, reversing their direction, is going to be more supply coming on. Right now, obviously, memory is hard to get, and it is required for this expansion. If memory becomes easier to get or if supply increases, what does it do to the price of these stocks? Got to think that's going to make them trade down. SK Hynix briefly overtook Samsung Electronics last month to become South Korea's most valuable listed company, underscoring how investors have increasingly rewarded memory makers as AI infrastructure spending accelerates. SK Hynix listing gives domestic investors unprecedented liquid access to the world's reigning high-bandwidth memory king, which currently has a 58% global market share in advanced AI memory compared to Micron's 21%, according to data compiled by Counterpoint Research. Samsung holds the remaining share. Shares of SK Hynix closed 3.38% lower on Monday in South Korea. SK Hynix Nasdaq debut comes as a broad sell-off in AI-related semiconductor stocks, as investors question whether years of aggressive spending on artificial intelligence infrastructure would translate into returns quickly enough. The pullback weighed on memory makers despite continued optimism around long-term demand. Former Wedbush analyst Dan Ives called Micron, SK Hynix, and Samsung Electronics the, quote, golden jewels, end quote, of the AI revolution, saying that recent weakness overlooked persistent demand for high bandwidth memory chips and tight industrial supply. So let me just ask the question broadly right here. Do you folks think that the listing of SK Hynix is going to have a negative impact on some of the really good memory plays that we've been taking advantage of, like Micron and SanDisk? Do you think it's going to make it better, worse? Do you think this is just one more to the party and party on, Wayne? How do you view this trade? And I guess the other thing that I would want to know, especially this week, leading up to the IPO, are you doing anything? So if you're sitting on a winner in any of these memory names, are you thinking maybe about booking some of those gains, closing some of that up before the next one comes on, and then reassessing? I think a lot of different plans could make sense here. I'm curious to see what the group is doing, especially for that. Yeah, let me know. Brett Green says, one more to the party. And honestly, Brett, like, I wouldn't even rule that out. Like, I don't claim to know what's going to happen, but it sure seems like with the demand the way it is now, at least initially, party on, right? That's definitely going to keep happening there. And then Big B said, bro, I told you, new replacement trading computer is $13,000. Crazy. And how much of that is RAM, Big B's? I think that's like the real kicker there, right? How much of that is RAM? I know GPU prices went up a couple of years ago, but RAM used to be one of the cheap components. Now it sounds like it's going to be one of those components that really inflates the price tag. All right, next story here. Elon Musk is saying that space is, quote, the only way to scale at scale for AI computing amid some earthbound bottlenecks. I know the data center in space trade is a big one. Some people are skeptical, others are not. Let's see what we have going on here. Elon Musk on Sunday emphasized the need for orbital infrastructure to prevent artificial intelligence computing from being held up by Earth's limits and regulatory bottlenecks. No word on if you go to space, if you can avoid regulation. Replying to a post about space-based data centers, Musk said, quote, space is the only way to scale at scale, end quote. Musk was responding to a post on the popular X account XFreeze, which argued that massive AI data centers on Earth face delays from lawsuits, land fights, power grid constraints, and local opposition. The post positioned orbit as a way around these bottlenecks and included a conceptual AI-1 satellite diagram showing a 150 kilowatt peak compute payload, solar arrays, and deployable liquid radiators. The comment adds to Musk's broader push to recast SpaceX as an AI infrastructure company, not just a rocket and satellite operator. SpaceX has argued that low Earth orbit can provide abundant solar power and avoid land, water, and electricity constraints faced by ground-based data centers. In early 2026, SpaceX filed plans with the Federal Communications Commission, or FCC, for up to 1 million orbital data center satellites. The filing said the constellation would power advanced AI models and operate between 500 kilometers and 2,000 kilometers above Earth. Musk has said Starship would be central to the plan because of its heavy lift capacity, could enable the deployment of large numbers of compute satellites. Remember, we've talked about not just one big data center floating out there in low Earth orbit, but instead of that, many, many, many smaller satellites that have compute power. The SpaceX CEO has described each AI satellite as capable of 150 kilowatts of peak power and 120 kilowatts of sustained power. Musk sees orbital computing as offering 1 trillion times more scale than Earth-based systems, and SpaceX has already framed AI compute as a service following the expanded deal with Anthropic. SpaceX also unveiled the first generation AI-1 satellite design last month. Musk said the satellite would be simpler than Starlink hardware because it would need solar cells, radiators, and laser links, but not Starlink's more complex communication antennas. The supply chain remains a major question. Musk has also announced Terafab, a proposed Texas chip project meant to produce 1 terawatt of compute power per year, much of it for space use. SpaceX's manufacturing roadmap is also ambitious. The company plans an 11 million square foot gigasat facility in Barstow, Texas, targeting AI satellite production by late 2027, an eventual goal of 100 gigawatts of annual space AI compute by around 2030. Scientists warn the vision could carry steep costs. The European Southern Observatory has previously warned that large satellite constellations can harm astronomy, ecosystems, and air quality, while critics say cooling server clusters in orbit and assembling them at scale remain an unproven engineering challenge. And look, I totally get it. I am excited for this because, like, the science nerd in me, the sci-fi kid fan in me loves this idea. I'm not sure how it is going to work out, but we're going to follow every step of the way. I'll tell you that much right now. We're going to follow it every step of the way. And by the way, while we're here, since we've talked a little bit about SpaceX joining the Nasdaq 100, and we just talked about the news, here's a really quick look at the SpaceX chart. The most interesting level for me is 150 because that's where we opened on the IPO and we traded back down to that and we held it and it looked like we were going to bounce. But I'd be lying if I didn't say that we are going to have kind of an important day here today. I just drew a trend line with the two peaks that I could find, and it really took until July 1st to be able to do something like this. I suppose I could have done that here on June 30th, but nonetheless. Today, we're basically right at this. Now, this is a very steep trend line, and any modest gain here today, we're up by less than 1%, just about 1%. Any modest gain here today is going to have us challenging this. But I would like to see if we do break this trend line, next area here to me is going to be this 172-ish, maybe call it 172 to 173. That likely is going to be the next area to provide resistance if we go challenge that. Now, all right, so I thought that this might be kind of important here. We'll see if we're able to track this down the road. I will just kind of throw the caveat out here. I know some of you folks really don't like these tech bros or some of the tech bro podcasts or some of the extravagant things that they say here, but felt at least that this one was worth covering. Venture capitalist Jason Calacanis argued that NVIDIA, ticker NVDA, is moving beyond its role as the world's leading AI chipmaker and is positioning itself to compete more directly with companies like OpenAI and Anthropic through its growing portfolio of open-weight AI models. Last week, during an episode of the All In podcast, venture capitalist Calacanis said NVIDIA is preparing to, quote, own the whole stack, end quote, by pairing its dominant AI hardware business with increasingly capable open-weight large language models. Quote, NVIDIA is taking the gloves off with its open source model. They will own the whole stack, end quote. That came from Calacanis. He predicted that NVIDIA's open-weight models could become good enough for many everyday AI use cases, adding, quote, you will not be able to tell the difference between Jensen Huang's open source LLM and Claude for 95% of your searches. I guarantee you. End quote. Calacanis also suggested NVIDIA had previously kept its AI models ambitions, relatively quiet because of some of its largest customers, including OpenAI and Anthropic, were developing frontier models using NVIDIA's chips. Quote, his top customers were very concerned, from what I understand, about the fact that NVIDIA has made so much progress in their open source model, end quote. According to Calacanis, the competitive landscape has shifted as major AI developers pursue alternatives to NVIDIA's ecosystem, citing OpenAI's reported custom AI chip efforts, Anthropic's chip partnerships, AMD's or Advanced Micro Devices' growing AI presence, and Elon Musk's push to build more of xAI's infrastructure in-house. NVIDIA has been investing heavily in its Nemotron family of open-weight models, which are designed for enterprise applications, including reasoning, retrieval, augmented generation, and multimodal AI. Last month, NVIDIA and Palantir, ticker PLTR, announced a partnership to deploy Nemotron-powered AI systems in sovereign and classified environments. This allows government agencies and critical infrastructure operators to train and run AI models while retaining control over sensitive data and intellectual property. Now, the other thing here worth mentioning, if this is successful, How many other companies, not just in the tech space, are going to move to these open AI models and be able to train their large language models in a secure environment? That way, perhaps feeling more comfortable with using, sensitive or proprietary information in it. We'll see how this shakes out. I think that this could really kind of have some tentacles that can really spread into next year and years beyond that. So I think this, again, we're already at the early innings of the AI trade, but I think that there's going to be substantial change across this industry, and this might be one of those things. This might be one of them. All right, next story here. Dan Niles sees Apple winning the China memory exemption. He calls the AI chip sell-off a speed bump as NVIDIA's Vera Rubin fuels long-term demand. So I know lots of talk about some of the different AI names, not just the memory names, but some of the different AI names. Let's see what Dan Niles has to think about, or has to say about it, excuse me. On Sunday, tech investor Dan Niles said that the recent pullback in AI semiconductor stocks is a temporary setback rather than the end of the artificial intelligence rally, arguing that long-term demand remains intact despite growing investor concerns. In a post on X, Niles said AI-related stocks underperformed last week, even as the broader market advanced, describing the weakness as a, quote, speed bump rather than a major reversal. He attributed the decline primarily to concerns that Apple, ticker AAPL, could receive approval to source memory chips from China, this potentially weighing on non-Chinese memory suppliers. He also pointed to speculation that Meta, ticker META, could monetize excess AI computing capacity through a public cloud offering, a development that initially cheered investors, but could also encourage additional capital spending. Quote, "My plan is to remain bullish on the diversified market during this seasonally favorable period until big cap earnings begin in late July," end quote. Now, again, one of the things that I want to highlight here, we spent a lot of last week and even the week prior to that talking about the seasonality for July. I produced charts that showed you with 10 years of look back, the positive trade was 100%. And in fact, I got another stat, courtesy of CNBC, that the last 11 Julys have all been positive, average gain of 3.39%. I do find it notable that Dan Niles is quoting this seasonal, he calls it a seasonally favorable period, and then also caps it with big cap earnings coming in late July. So that might be the thing that kind of turns the tide or maybe stops it. We'll see. Despite the recent weakness, Niles said he remains optimistic about memory chip makers over the long term. He noted that NVIDIA, ticker NVDA's upcoming Vera Rubin AI platform is expected to require, quote, at a minimum over 3 times more memory than a Blackwell platform, end quote. He's arguing that any further declines in memory stocks could present a buying opportunity. And remember, that's what we were talking about with Micron, especially Micron and others, but especially those that were sitting right at its 20-day moving average or near it. Niles also said he believes Apple will likely receive at least a partial exemption, allowing it to purchase some memory chips from China, citing inflation concerns and CEO Tim Cook's track record of securing favorable policy outcomes. While staying constructive in the near term, Niles flagged several risks that could pressure AI spending later this year, including more efficient AI models that require fewer computing resources, rising competition from low-cost open-source models, and increasing semiconductor costs. Quote, "I do not believe that we have seen the top, but we're just in the process of a speed bump," end quote. That was from Dan Niles, comparing the current AI cycle with the internet infrastructure boom of the late 1990s, when semiconductor stocks experienced steep correction levels before climbing to much higher levels. So again, I think the one thing that we can all agree on is that we're still early in this AI trade. I am definitely confident that it is going to produce more buying opportunities. Really, the only question is when, and how good is your timing going to be on that? All right. It wouldn't be a week or a Monday without a story about autonomous driving and the cybercab. Tesla Cybercab showcases braille labels and service animal space. Elon Musk said robotaxis must, quote, meet the needs of the blind. Before I dive into this, I will say working here at Benzinga was really kind of the first experience that I had with this. You don't normally think about stuff like this right on the top, but it is incredibly important. And actually, very early in my tenure here, I came across a couple of prospective customers that had trouble with our software due to blindness, which I couldn't believe. I had never thought about that. And it wasn't just blindness, but it was also color blindness. And in fact, Benzinga actually had to come up with more tools to help the audio alert what was going on screen. And we also developed a colorblind mode for our flagship platform here. So again, something that I didn't necessarily think about, but it ends up being extremely important. Elon Musk on Sunday emphasized Tesla, or ticker TSLA's Cybercab robotaxi accessibility features for blind users, such as braille lettering on controls and promotional materials. Musk took to X, stating, quote, make sure Cybercab meets the needs of the blind, end quote, reacting to a Tesla robotaxi post that showed the Cybercab at the National Federation of the Blind's annual convention in Austin, Texas. The post highlighted hands-on demonstrations of accessibility features aimed at blind and visually impaired riders. The official Tesla robotaxi post showed the vehicle alongside a braille-printed promotional material, interior controls, and a passenger entering the Cybercab with a white cane. The company said the vehicle includes braille lettering on key controls, dedicated room for service animals and assistive devices, and wheelchair height seating to make transfers easier. Cybercab's tactile braille markings appear on the hazard button, which also function as an emergency stop, and on interior door releases. The focus marks another sign that Tesla is trying to position the Cybercab as more than a futuristic two-seat robotaxi without a steering wheel or pedals. Tesla unveiled the Cybercab in October of 2024, with Musk saying that the vehicle would be priced below $30,000 and would use wireless charging instead of the conventional charging plug. The rollout has since moved from concept to early production, and in February, Tesla revealed the first production versions of its Cybercab at its Gigafactory in Texas, with Musk configuring the Tesla team on X and later confirming that the company planned to sell the vehicle for $30,000 or less by 2027. Still, the ramp is expected to be slow. Musk has warned early Cybercab and Optimus production would be, quote, agonizingly slow, end quote, even as Tesla targets long-term production of 2 million robotaxis a year. Tesla's current robotaxi push still relies on a small number of Model Y vehicles in Austin. The accessibility push also comes as Tesla trails Alphabet, or ticker GOOG's Waymo, in maturity. Waymo's app already offers turn-by-turn directions to help riders find their car using visual, audio, and haptic cues, a chime to locate the vehicle, in-car narration settings, and support for service animals. Waymo has also worked with groups including the Foundation for Blind Children and Lighthouse for the Blind and Visually Impaired, targeting features for the full trip, not just the cabin. All right. I guess let me know what you think here on these robotaxis. I mean, I'll say this just as kind of, and this is not specific to Tesla or to Google, but if you are really trying to come up with a fleet of autonomous cars that are going to help people that maybe can't drive or have their mobility limited for another reason, like being blind or something like that, you've got to think about all of these things. And I'll be quite honest with you, if any of this gives more freedom and increases the quality of life for somebody suffering with anything, whether it's disease or otherwise, or just simply not being able to drive from old age, I think this is just going to be a net positive for everybody. I know I have to remove my own personal feelings about driving. Not everybody can do it. Not everybody feels the same way that I do. Okay. How are we doing on time? Oh my gosh, we've got 16 minutes till pre-market pulse. We are in really good shape. I think this is what we're going to do. We're going to run street tweets right now. I think it's a really interesting stat, and I definitely want to get the opinion from you folks that are looking to trade, especially intraday here today. I would love to discuss this here. Then I'll probably go through the Ondas news, break that down a little bit, and then we can probably do ticker time. So we should be able to get through whatever you folks want to get through here today. It's going to be a good Monday. Let's go ahead right now and do street tweets. All right, and this comes from Odd Stats or at Odd Stats on X. To be honest, this is a great account. They do, in fact, come up with great odd stats. Your stat for today, Nasdaq futures are currently up more than 1% following a 3-day weekend. And indeed, checking on the Nasdaq futures right now, we're up 1.18%. But all you care about is how QQQ, which tracks the Nasdaq, which we talk about in trade here, does for Mondays following a 3-day weekend with a 1% or more gap higher. Luckily, here is the information. This is why this account is so great. The chart, I don't know, producer, if you separated it, it should be fairly easy to see. Up, look at that. Producer's just doing it. So here you go. QQQ gap ups of at least 1% on a Monday following a 3-day weekend since the QQQ began trading in March of 1999. We have 4 such cases here. It shows you the return on Tuesday, the open gap from Thursday's close, and then the total return from that day from Thursday's close. But here is the other column, and you might miss it because it doesn't have numbers in it. Closed above the open. The answer is yes in all 4 cases. So I think about how are we going to trade this market here today? Well, Nasdaq's gapped up by about 1%. Let's maybe watch the open. If you get a pullback and what looks like finding its footing, wanting to reverse, buyer stepping in, any of that, the stats here, the historical stats here are in your favor of a move higher here. Now, for those of you thinking, well, this can't possibly lie, I'm just going to buy the open, maybe hold your horses on that a little bit. We'll see how it trades. If you're active, you can probably you could probably scrutinize it a little bit more. But I thought that was really, really interesting. Based on the history, based on the market conditions that we're looking at here today, coupled with the positive seasonality that we've talked about for July, it sure feels like today is going to be an update. And better still, it sure feels like the Nasdaq will close higher than wherever it opens here today. Keep this under your hat and let's see if this ends up being true here today. All right, let's go back to Pro here. Let's see here. Where are the movers? Graph, we're going to be getting over to the movers here in a little bit. Okay, let me, sorry, I was just catching up on some of the comments there. Let me go back here to Pro. Now, let's take a very quick look here at ONDS. Shout out to you, Zach, for mentioning this earlier. And again, shout out to the company for at least putting out a PR before I went live here so I can take a look at it. We may as well start with the chart because that's where the bad news really kind of lies. So first of all, if we zoom out here, you can see we were really trading sideways. We unfortunately kind of created a new downtrend here. So I'm going to leave some of these lines on as it really gets too difficult to look at. Maybe I'll start removing some of them. But looking at this, we have a new downtrend here, a little bit more shallow than some of our previous ones. But boy, oh boy, the recent price action here from the high, not great, right? We made this high right around 14 and change. We immediately pulled back. We gave away pretty much the entire break higher in a matter of a week. Then we consolidated along the 200, which felt great during the time. Maybe we were going to bounce. Then we broke the 200. That's no bueno. We rolled over to the lows. We tried to bounce, couldn't even really print the 20-day, and rolled over again. Now here we are at 748. This actually looks like it wants to break lower. The chart absolutely looks ugly here. I would say that your next spot is probably going to be 684 here for support, but we'll see here. Now, let's take a look at some of the news here. Let me get my note sheet up here as well so I can very quickly reference that. Let's take a look at the news. So Ondas to buy an autonomous aircraft maker, DZYNE design, for $875 million. Now, the PR is in here for anyone that wants to go through it, and I encourage you to do that. But I did take a couple of things out of this. Number one, from a strategic perspective, this is definitely a positive thing, right? It just leapfrogged into a scaled defense platform with real revenue and EBITDA. Now, they paid a large price and they did it in stock, so there's absolutely dilution concerns here on this. But design is not in its early stage. It has about 191 million in 2026 revenue. That was from its guide. It's EBITDA positive and it's growing fast. It's actually targeting 300 million in revenue for 2027. Now, its core capabilities here, design is not something that I was totally familiar with, so we had to look into that. Long-range endurance ISR, which is surveillance and reconnaissance, counter UAS, which is what Ondas is trying to brand itself on, and autonomous strike and logistics system. So this actually expands what Ondas already does very, very well. Now, Zach, you had commented on this earlier. Is this accretive to earnings? Can it actually make a boost for Ondas? And the answer at least appears to be yes. The prior guide was for 390 million. The new guide is for 525 million. So they actually raised their sales guidance, and that's mentioned here in the newsfeed. That is a 35% increase in just overnight. So on the surface, seems good. There is definitely some dilution concerns. So we'll see how Ondas trades back down, or where it actually finds some support. And then the other thing about this is that ultimately this is not going to change the things that we need to keep looking at. Like Ondas is going to need to keep executing, or this is not a done deal here. So again, we'll see how this goes. Also, I think there was one more thing in here. Oh yeah, the design has a strong customer base already, so that's essentially being folded in to the Ondas environment here. So we'll see if they can continue to execute. We'll see if they can continue to get more contracts. On the surface, it appears all right. Looking at the chart's ugly. Stock is still up by 1% here today. And if we take a look inside, you can see what it looked like earlier. It was actually higher. So we have some more move down here on the back of that. All right. That's it for Ondas. Let's do ticker time here. We've got 8 minutes until we do pre-market pulse, where we'll run through the rest of the movers there. That's for you, Graf. Let's also take a look at Micron. That was another question that we got earlier. We talked a little bit about the SK Hynix thing. So here's the big, this is where the rubber meets the road here for Micron. We had talked about the 20-day moving average really being the potential bounce spot for Micron. And in fact, when it had come into the 20, it bounced off of it. In fact, it barely even tested beneath it until this recent move down here. So I'm just going to ask the $10,000 question here. Do we think that this is a change in character? Now that we've broke the 20-day, we actually have 2 closes beneath the 20-day here. Generally, I like to see 3, but we do have 2 closes beneath the 20-day here, and it sure looks like Micron is topping out. Now, as far as a key level here today, I got to say it's going to be 1044. We're currently up 3.45%. We're looking at a 1010 price here in the pre-market. If this thing can get back above the 20-day here today, about 1044, and then close above it, I actually think that could induce a multi-day move higher here. Maybe even strong enough to challenge its all-time highs here. Now, we have those highs. The actual value I have here is 1255 even. So mark that off on your chart. But if Micron cannot get back above the 20 here today, that is going to mark the 3rd close beneath the 20-day. And we already talked about the possible competitor being listed here on Friday. So a very, very interesting spot here for Micron, at least in my opinion. I could actually see this going both ways. I am curious to see if this participates with any type of technology move higher today, if we end up getting that, like from the odd stats that we just showed you there. So I'd like to know from the group, how are you looking at Micron? Are you trading this to the long side? Are you adding this on weakness? Do you have a plan here today? Like, for example, if we cross the 20-day, are you looking to play that? Are you buying dips if this pulls here today? Are you shorting it? Let me know how you folks are taking a look here at Micron. What I want to know by the end of the day, and we'll know it by the end of the day, but what I want to figure out here, do we actually close above that 20-day? Do we bring buyers back in, or are we still kind of afraid that this thing is overbought, moved too much too quickly, whatever it is that you want to say? Would love to hear from the group how you folks are thinking about Micron. And then while we're on the subject here of Micron, we might as well take a look here at SanDisk. This is what it looks like. Stocks up nearly 6% here today. This too is beneath the 20-day moving average. The only caveat here is that we only have one close beneath the 20 on SanDisk as opposed to the two that we've had there on Micron. But same deal here. That 20-day moving average value is 1955.86. We're currently sitting at 1842.73. We have 100 points to that moving average intraday here today. The thing here with SanDisk is we're actually not far away from its 50-day moving average. So in the event that all of the memory names end up rolling over here today, I'd be looking, can this thing get some support down there? 1627, 1628 for SanDisk. I guess we might as well take a look at the two other memory names just briefly here. Here's Western Digital. This already is testing its 50-day moving average. Can we hold here? That will be key. It looks like it tested that on Thursday. We're holding above it here today as the stock's up 5.2%. And then STX, which is the one that not really high bandwidth memory. This is actually breaking beneath its 50. So are we able to recapture that here today? The value there is 840, current price up 4.5%, 857. So a lot of these memory names at kind of key spots here. And I'm really curious on how the group is handling this right now. Joe here says, my question about Micron, they're sold out of memory for the next year or two. What's the new income that isn't already priced in? Well, that's a fair question, Joe. And I don't know that there really is. I think what the market is still trying to figure out is how much is that actually worth? Because remember, one of the things that I was looking at last week is that the earnings that the company has produced, that's gone 10 times since September of last year. It's moved up 10 times in terms of what they actually earned. The price has not. And in fact, that 10x price equates to about 1,600. So what I'm getting at here is, does the market think with the current revenue streams and earnings that they have right now, is there more room higher? Or have we just topped out and peaked? That's it right there. Jamrock says, I'm looking to get back into DRAM. Okay, well, you know what? We're at ticker time. We might as well take a look at some more tickers. What do you say about that? Here's DRAM. This is going to be the Round Hill Memory ETF. Obviously, the charts look very similar to the memory names, but this isn't an individual name. Notably here, this is up 7.72% here today. I got to think that DRAM is going to benefit from the SK Hynix listing. So maybe some of the individual names that view it as a competitor, that effect won't be visible here. Pay attention to the 20-day. Pay attention to the 20-day. We're right beneath that 20-day moving average coming into play on a lot of these names here. Okay, good stuff there. And then let's see. Kathy, appreciate you. And good morning, Kathy. LRCX could be a buy after its 2-day pullback. This is, of course, going to be Lam Research. Now, this thing's been an absolute monster. And this thing has moved with the tech, move higher, the AI trade. This is involved in making chips and all of that. I like this call here, Kathy. And I would say that if we do have this, if the July seasonality holds true, I think Lam Research is definitely one of those that's going to fit into this. This is another stock that has moved a tremendous amount. Let's zoom out. Look at this. Look at this. This is the types of stocks that you absolutely want for long-term holdings here. Oh, this little bit of a pullback, really not even all that big of a deal. We are beneath the 20. The 20 is at 370.11. We're currently at 371. So I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm on repeat here, but a lot of the charts are really showing the same thing. 20-day moving average is going to be very, very important. Are we able to get back above that? Are we able to kind of hold that? There is also, I think, potential future deals with this company. We can talk about that some other time. 13 saying LRCX is a buy for other reasons. Let's be sure to ask him when he comes on here what those reasons might be. But I agree with you, Kathy, on the surface here. I think that this probably is a buy after its pullback. If you want to be a little tactical, maybe wait for this to kind of show you that buy spot. Right here at the 20, though. Right here at the 20. Okay. mRNA and Velo. All right, let's do mRNA first. This is one, my brain doesn't even see this stock. This has been on a huge run. So we actually have, James from our team here has just absolutely been crushing this trade. Shout out to him for it. We actually had a little bit of a back and forth on that. He ended up being right. I ended up being wrong. It is what it is. Anyway, Moderna here making a huge move off of the lows. Now, Big B's, you're saying you're eyeballing Moderna. Are you looking to maybe kind of chase some of the performance here, or do you think that this is running up into a resistance level and might make a potential short? RSI totally overcooked here at 80.66 on the daily chart. Let's see what we have on some of the longer term charts. Okay, 77 on a weekly, and we're pretty much in no man's land there on the monthly. So we're right in the middle there on the monthly. So let me know, Big B's, are you looking at this for more of a short area? This did run up into a resistance area. This was a former support area that is now resistance. If we can break that, I have got to think maybe the round 100 number, sure, but I think maybe after that, you might be looking at 110, 110s on Moderna if it keeps rolling here. Let me know though, Big B's, which side of this are you at? You're not. I'm not entirely certain which side you're on that. All right. It is time for pre-market pulse. Let's go ahead and get that started. All right, 13 is back. Fresh haircut. Not now, Chief. 13's in the zone. Let's go. How was your holiday weekend, buddy?
Oh, it was relaxing. I was mostly poolside, enjoying traditional American barbecues and just having fun at the pool.
Tell you what, that doesn't sound half bad, 13. That sounds incredible.
One of our movers is already starting to go here, but we can talk that. Yeah, fresh cut. I got to look good for America's 250.
Let's go. I absolutely love it. All right. Do you want to dive into the movers here? I do. I know we've got a question here on Velo a couple of times here. We can absolutely. So what do you want to start with here? Do you want to do the movers? Why don't we just get that out of the way and then fill the time up with ticker time?
The one that's moving right now is the first one I looked at is LHSW. You can probably see that it's got a trend line as well. This is moving on no news, although that it might be moving on one of its recent agreements that it had at the end of June. I'm sorry, did you want to go ahead and look and talk about this real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just roll through the movers. We'll start there. Let me just first ask you, where did you start your trend line? Did you start it on that first candle from Thursday? Or?
No, it was actually Thursday, the peak from Thursday. It was the one at 19, let's see, that would be 705.
Yeah, so about $5.
Mm-hmm. And we're coming right up to this trend line right now.
So did it look like
there
this?
It is. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. So I just want to make sure we have the same trend line here. No news on this. This does kind of look like a China pump.
Is your chart not doing anything? Because mine's taken off. I don't know. How about you folks? It should be some movement here.
Yeah, no, it is. It's just the candle. The price is taking off. It's just the candle. So let me see if I can fix that here. You're absolutely right. It's moving. Sorry about that. But really quickly, let me just give you the short interest on this and I'll go about fixing it. I do have a reading here of 30.51% of the float shorted, and it's a massive step up here. Looks like the float was just changed. So I think this might be a little bit of a math error. Just keep it under your hat. I do have a float here of 1.1 million shares, traded 46 million versus its average of 484,000. So yeah, and here you go, 13. So yeah, let me refresh Pro here. It looks like it was just like a candle snafu, but go ahead. What do you got on this one?
So 1.1 million share float. They did just do a 1-for-16 reverse split back in June on the 17th. So that's why this float's getting pushed around like it is. Unlike a lot of other, by the way, all these that I looked at here today, they're all China names. This one that I looked at here in particular does have revenue. It doesn't really have a large cash position, but it is profitable. And we just blew through the only resistance that I was keeping an eye on. That was going to be at 575. We started trading up there as we were talking, and it blew right through that, and it took off to the trend line. And now it's trying to hold above this trend line now. So after we go through all these, we can come back to this one and see what happens next with this. But if we start closing over this trend line, then I think the next spot we're going to want to keep an eye on here. Let's see, we're at $7. I would say let's see if we can completely get all the way up to 820. That seems to be a former support area, and we lost it back in February. Haven't been up there since. So I think that 820 to we can even call it all the way up to 9. 820 to $9 is the next area where I think you could run into resistance if we continue higher.
Okay, and just a couple of other things to mention here. Number one, we did have a fair value gap. The stock traded into it. It also coincided quite well with the 15 EMA, and the stock is now making the move right to the trend line. That 13 had me draw. So just a really kind of a crazy technical move here. This fair value gap, it is no longer unmitigated. So I don't think we can use that for a future trade here, but nice to see that this worked here so far.
Yeah. And if it comes back in here,
sorry, really quickly. Thank you, Kathy. This is restricted on Schwab.
Yeah, and so if this does come back in here because it didn't get over the trend line, then that $6 breakout spot might be where the support is. So for now, that was the trade that I wanted to let everybody about. So that's happened. Let's see if it sets up for the next one, which would if we do get it, it's going to take us up to that area I was talking about earlier, that $8.20 to $9 area. Okay,
beautiful. What else you have from the movers list?
The only other two that I looked at are ZCMD and FXHO.
Okay, we'll start here with ZCMD. This is Zong Chao. This is another China name. This thing traded up towards 750 in the post market on Thursday. It has done absolutely nothing here in the pre-market here today. I don't see any news on this unless this joint article has something else in here. Doesn't look like. Okay, real quick, I'll turn it over to you here in a sec. Short interest on this name, negligible, 0.54% of the float chart. That's nothing in here. Float 1.14 million, and it's traded 10x its average volume already. What do you got, 13?
I think this one is just another name that got latched on to because they found out they were reverse splitting this into oblivion, and they just said, you know what, let's push it around. 1.1 million shares in the float, 2 reverse splits last month. So this thing went through. Yeah, right.
I'm sorry, man. I didn't try to break your concentration there, but I can't help but laugh. I mean,
it's two last month, 3 this year. So they started off in February with a 1 for 8. Last month they did a 1 for 31 and a 1 for 3. So here we are, a completely reverse split into oblivion, and just getting pushed around. And well, it was getting pushed around. This thing has been sinking, all morning. But I think it's worth keeping on our radar because it could this whole move down could set up another wild move up. So we already know that these are very risky. But if we're just patient enough, we might get to see some bottoming and a turnaround here that we can make an actionable trade on here. The company does have some revenue, it does have some cash, but it is not profitable. That's usually how it goes with some of these companies that are constantly reverse splitting. They could do a capital raise. As I said, they have some cash and not profitable. So just some things to consider here. But when we look at the chart, let me go back to the 5-minute here. We look at the chart, and we've traded this before because I've got some old levels on here. Looks like to me, 275 is the level to watch for. We're still coming down. We might find some support around $2. If not there, maybe 150. But I wouldn't touch this thing until there's some clear sign of this turning around or having turned around. And I think this will probably end up trading a lot better if we're on the other side of 275. That was support earlier this morning. We've lost it maybe about an hour ago. We're trying to recapture the 200 EMA. We need to get back above or towards the 65 EMA if we're going to see the other side of 275. And the other resistance to watch out for, VWAP. That's been suppressing the price all morning as well. So just a couple of things to look for on the upside. Not a trade yet, but something to watch for if it gets set up. This thing has a very low float because of that reverse split.
Okay. And former Chinese, just know what you own, right? This is one of these where we talk about this all the time. If you're able to make money off of this, great, but know what you own because this sure does seem shady at best.
Yep.
All right, 13. We did have another attempt to push through the VWAP here on LHSW. Do you have anything else on your list here? I think you did.
There was one, and I'm just only going to touch briefly on it because it's mostly just a ticker change. FXHO.
Yep.
This company is. Go back to what that was. Hold on a second. It was formerly WTO, which was U-Time. So the reason they're changing it is because they're merging with a Chinese company called Fei Xiaohao. That's another tech company that they're merging with. So because of this merger, they're changing the ticker to FXHO, and it was formerly WTO. Now we have a this company now with a 197,000 share float. I could go back to U-Time and look at their balance sheet and all their metrics for an understanding of their financials, but I don't know what Fei Xiaohao is going to bring to the table. So I just kind of left that out and just said I'm just going to stick with what's what the chart's showing me. So with that in mind, oops, that's a P, not a no. We just need to see the 200 EMA hold up. That's going to be our next support before I would just say, wait until later before for this to turn around, because if it doesn't turn around to the 200 EMA, it's going to be much lower, probably under 10. So that's what I would be keeping an eye on here with FXHO is if we do get a turnaround here, there's resistance at the 65 EMA and at VWAP. So if we are going to see a turnaround here and this is going to climb back higher, we need to see a recapture of 15. I think that's the next thing to happen after a support from the 200 EMA.
Okay. And then the rest of the list here, SRX Global, is this a reverse split? Yep. 60-1 reverse split effective July 6th has not been reflected here in movers. I'll get that corrected, so we don't even need to cover that. Another one here is going to be Kids. This is Kids AI. This company has been a number of different things in the past. I don't trust it at all. Kids AI shares are trading higher after the company announced it unveiled KidsBot, an AI robotics learning platform. It expects it to begin commercial rollout during the second half of this year, so starting anytime this quarter. Yeah,
that's one that I might be looking at later, for something to trade. But other ones that are moving this morning that I took note of that we've traded before and are going to be keeping an eye on them. SBEV, S-Dot, Lucy, and Wolf. Those are also on the movers list.
So here we go. We'll start with Lucy. Lucy did have a catalyst. Innovative eyewear shares are trading higher after the company reported year-over-year increase in preliminary Q2 sales results. Also, the company reported year-over-year increase in preliminary H1 sales results in the first half. Lucy, this to me, 13, is a story on whether or not it can get through the VWAP.
I haven't even looked at the chart. I just was looking on the movers list, and when I see recognizable names and I understand how they moved before, I'd keep them on my list. But let's look at that. Yeah, VWAP. Sure, certainly, and also look like this area between 90, I want to say 92 cents and basically $1. That area right there seems to be the current demand zone. So because we just came down into there and went sideways, and now we're trying to climb out of that range. I think if we lose that, then this thing's going to be done for the morning. Okay.
All right, good stuff there. A couple more things, or just one more thing I wanted to mention here. This is going to be SEER, ticker SEER. This traded up to 230 in the after hours on Thursday, dropped when the market opened, but volume is actually bringing this back up to about where we closed that after hours session there. We do have some news here. So they filed an investor presentation highlighting strong momentum, commercial opportunity, and significant long-term value creation potential. And it looks like there was a proposal. So the Radoff GEC Group responds to Chairman and CEO proposal to acquire SEER. So it looks like this is not a done deal, but advocated. I would go through that PR to see what the actual story is here, but that's what's going on with this one. SEER stock is up 40%. And the short interest on this, it's negligible. Not even a 0.5% there. Float's about 50 million though. So, all right.
Just some great comments from the folks in the chat. Joe saying kids will soon return to the orphanage. Not kids, Bob. No, that's great, guys. There's some other ones that folks are bringing up that we can also look at. I know that I think Kathy was waiting for me to kind of explain my comment on Lam Research.
Yeah, I wanted to hear that too. And then I also wanted to do Velo. So I think maybe that's a really good spot to start. I'll start here with LRCX 13. I'm going to step away for just a sec. But what we'll do is after Lam, we'll go right into Velo. As soon as I get back, I'll figure out where you're at. All right?
Okay.
BRB, 1 sec.
So this is going to be pretty easy with Lam Research. Lately, I've been talking a lot about molybdenum and how that's a metal that's being looked at and used and researched to replace silicon for making chips, specifically molybdenum disulfide as a new chip material. But Lam Research is actually one of the companies that's working with molybdenum, but not to make that I think it's substrate, but not to make that disulfide compound. It's mostly just working with molybdenum for its connectivity and working on interconnecting chips to transistors or their pads, basically to conduct through the rest of the system, not necessarily to make the disulfide compound. But that's what I was getting at, is that Lam Research is looking at molybdenum Micron's already using it. A number of other companies are actively looking to work with it as well, like TSM, I think, has been doing a lot of research on it. Intel. There's one other name I can't think of that they're also working on it with. But this is trying to be the next. This is trying to be the replacement for our silicon, because when you start to get down to the nanometer scale, you run into all kinds of different physical limitations with silicon compounds, and that's where molybdenum comes in. So that's why I was being cryptic about Lam Research. That's one of the reasons why I think it's
the spelling of molybdenum.
No,
I'm joking. I'm joking. It's a funny word.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, guys. So yeah, that's the reason why I was being cryptic about, well, not necessarily cryptic. That's why I was, saying there's more reasons to own Lam Research. They're working on future material.
Okay.
Joe, I have a list. When we get past Velo, let me see if I can pull that up, because I started looking into some of the companies that would mine this, and you're going to find a lot of it in the same companies that mine copper. So FCX, Rio Tinto, those are going to be some names right off the top of my head I can think of, but I'll get you a longer list here after we look at Velo.
All right, we appreciate it a ton. All right, let's do Velo now. Let's just move over to that. Here you go, Aslaf. I'm actually going to, I am going to do this daily. Let me just fix this. It won't actually be that bad. There we go. Because I know that we've talked about other formations here on the daily. So let me just get this chart in a little bit more of a digestible format. Here we go on Velo. What do you got for us, 13? I guess the question was, we talked about 15 being a decent support area for this. There was someone in the chat asking what they thought about 15. And what do you think?
Well, let's see here. Losing the 50-day SMA isn't a great sign. But this has been on a fantastic run. So it's
more than that, 13. Not only did they lose it, but they retested it, could not recapture, and then rolled over. So lower prices wouldn't be surprising at this stage, and looks to me like we could see this come down to the 200, down near 12. But it's been getting some recent news about expanding its manufacturing capabilities, so I think that has quite a bit to do with it. Whenever you see the talk of anything that has to do with CapEx in a company that still having
profitability issues, I'm sure there's going to be lots of investors that get nervous about that. But I do know that this is a company that's really working towards the future of America and reshoring manufacturing. They used to, just be one of the companies that makes the 3D printing machines, for SpaceX and Anduril and a bunch of others. But now they decided they want to manufacture on their own and take orders for manufacturing using their system. So that might actually be the better way to go. And I say that because I'm looking at a company called Xometry, which doesn't make their own machines. They just buy everybody else's and use manufacturers as a service, and they are killing it. So I think that might be the way to go. So for now, Velo probably going to be weak for a period of time. I still like it long term, but I think that there's going to be some lower prints as a result of the way that they're heading right now and their expansion for manufacturing. But I think all that's going to translate into profitability in the future. But if you're asking if this is good for a trade, like a shorter period, probably not. I think there could be a little bit more downside. But if you have a longer term horizon, I think this is one of the good ones.
Yeah, and I mean, the way I look at this for a possible, first of all, I should say this at the outset. I completely agree with the long-term prospects here. I know that there was a short report recently on this. I'm not really terribly concerned about that, to be quite honest with you. With Velo's largest customers being SpaceX and Anduril, I don't really think that's going to be a problem. Now, as far as the chart goes here, Lion in the chat saying Velo looks like it wants to bounce. And I would say the same thing. Now, 13 brought up a really good point about the 50-day there. We actually didn't bounce much from the 50. If I recall, there was a Thursday, June 25th, felt like a bounce day, but it wasn't actually all that great. And as we talked about, it did lose the 50, tried to recapture it and couldn't. And so now it seems like it's finding that bottoming spot. Now, we talked about 15 being a decent spot to add this. Mm-hmm. We currently have the 100-day at 15.29, and the stock looks like it wants to bounce off that. We're sitting at 15.50 here in the pre-market. But we also have this previous trend line that originated from the high on January 13th and goes through the high on April 24th. This trend line has acted as a breakout spot and then acted as support twice. Will it be thrice? And if this comes in towards I have this here, just eyeballing it, I have it at 14.12. So the way I would look at this for a short-term trade, we've seen what this thing can do. So I'm thinking maybe start at 15, maybe add a little bit at 14. Going to have to figure out your stop there. The 200's down there at 12. Remember, the initial buy that we had on this was in a 12 handle. That went to 30. So I kind of like this down here.
And just so everybody's aware, I'm still in this. I still have Velo, but I've been in and out of a lot of my position. When it comes in and gets weak, I start adding, and when it takes off, I significantly reduce. We've done that pretty much twice since this year started. And the most recent move that took us up to 30, I was actually completely exited my position before it came back in. I've recently started adding. So I'm starting to add down here again. I'm not backing up the truck because, like I said, I still think that this might be able to go lower. And I cited that 200-day SMA, which is down near 12, but also look at the weekly chart. You also have the 50-week SMA down at 12.11. So I think that might also act as that $12 area is going to be a pretty good support area if we do not hold up here in the 15 handle. So, just trying to be realistic here. If I felt great about 15, I'd probably add a lot more. I'm taking it slow because, as I pointed out, this company still is not profitable, but they are beginning to really pull in the revenue and expand. So it's just another growth story, another growth name, and I think it's got a lot of potential, especially when you have strategic partners like Anduril and SpaceX.
Yeah. Totally with you on that. And there you go. 13's already started to add. I'm hoping for it a little bit lower, but I am going to execute the same plan that he is on. So, all right. All right, good stuff there. You got it, Aslaf. I'm sorry. I know you've been waiting for that one, but this was the segment to really fit that in. 13, we've got 6 minutes left. Is there anything else that you want to do here today? Any other tickers that were mentioned?
If somebody or folks want to ask about some stocks, that's fine.
We've got one.
Some molybdenum names, so I can pull that up while you're doing that.
Okay, couple of things here. So first of all, Anne-Marie, good morning. I will thank you very much. I will take a look at that here in a sec. But Anne-Marie saying, I would not be surprised to see the indices give back the trade moves from Friday. This is important because Anne-Marie, not to put you on the spot here, but I believe the last time that we had a bullish morning, you had said that it felt like it was going to give everything back. And indeed, by the end of the day, it gave everything back. So just kind of keep that out there. Anne-Marie, I appreciate all of the insights that you bring here. And then the other stock that folks were asking about was Open Door. Open Door as well, housing interest rates, etc. This comes from Akil. Let's take a look here at Open Door.
And real quick, I did post the list of names that I have for molybdenum. All the names
Sure
that I found.
I think this is it, right? Yep. And also, by the way, EKS, appreciate you giving you some news there on Freeport, McMoran, and Rio Tinto. Appreciate that.
Yep, both on there. And then I think one of the other big ones that produces molybdenum is Tech Resources, TECK.
Okay, TECK. I think that's a Lion. I think that's a stock that Lion really likes or has liked in the past. I don't want to speak for it.
SCCO is also on there too, and I'm pretty sure Lion's like that one as well. I think anything copper he likes because copper is such a critical mineral that we're going to need a lot of.
No doubt. No doubt. Okay, now Open Door. Here's Open Door. Stock's down 0.5% here today. This chart doesn't look great. Here's my big thought on Open Door. I can see this moving with like the housing trade and all of that. I don't know that that's in any hurry to really kind of turn around here. So I don't know that there's really an impetus to buy this. Now, looking at the chart here, it is obviously doing a good job holding this low. It has basically been sideways since February here. So you have a pretty, in fact, let me just highlight this. This will actually be a little bit easier to see. You have this kind of range basically that we need to break on Open Door. So I'll leave this here. I drew it kind of quickly, so forgive me if the numbers are not exact here, but this is basically what we're looking at breaking out of here. I don't have any insight on the housing market right now. Also, this just kind of looks sideways here. We have a lot of these moving averages condensing here. If we do get any move, I would definitely expect resistance at that 200, unless there's some macro theme that we kind of view as bullish here. I don't really think that you're in any rush to buy this. We are right around the volume point of control for all of 2026. This actually goes back to the fall of last year as well. I just don't see the impetus to buy this right now. You got anything on this one?
Look at a weekly chart. I think that 20-week SMA and the 50-week SMA are the moving averages to watch because you've had the 20 suppressing the price action to the upside pretty much since the beginning of April. Just hasn't been able to recapture that. Last week we did close above it. This week we're opening above it. I would be curious to see if we get a second week closing above the 20-week SMA. And then, of course, the 50-week is going to have to be the next hurdle to get over. But I think we have a better chance, or at least a potential here of turning around and recovering from this sideways price action if we start closing over that 20-week SMA. And I think that's what I would be watching.
And this 50-week SMA is actually lined up quite nicely with the top of that sideways range that we just talked about back from the daily chart. So that seems to line up quite nice. Good stuff there on Open. Thanks for bringing that one up. I know don't really have a whole lot here on it, but not bad. And Lion giving you his list of copper names that he likes. That's right here in the chat. Thank you, Lion.
We don't have a whole lot of time, but Lucy starting to turn up. Tess, yeah, that's the spelling that EKS gave the spelling earlier in his comment as well. It's just basically Molly with one L, B, and then denim with no I.
I like it. And then IREN. We'll take a quick look at this. I know we're less than 2 minutes here. Here's what the IREN chart looks like. Actually, let me extend this trend line out here too, because that's coming into play here. And actually, I am drawing a huge blank here. I am sorry about this. Let me see. I think I saw an interesting tweet on IREN over the weekend. I thought I liked it. Let me see if I can pull that here. I didn't have it ready because I got that odd stat. That thing that I mentioned here. Let me see if I can find this. Right here. Right here. Let me just show this here real quick, 13. All right, this is what I saw over the weekend. No position for me, so take this with a grain of salt. Leaked documents show that Anthropic is looking to buy at least 1.4 gigawatts of Australian data center capacity, with the build-out potentially costing up to $15 billion. This would mean it is worth watching IREN here, given its Australian power and AI data center footprint. So
10 seconds.
We'll see what that means for the chart. Do we bounce? Do we hold this trend line? We shall see. All right, going over to the main workspace. Here we go.
It looks like LHSW is trying to push up through that trend line again. We'll see if it can get through. Let's see what these other ones are doing.
Lion says IREN is getting close to being a great buy for the long term. Okay, so there you go. All right. LHSW hasn't really done a whole lot of anything yet. We'll see what that does. Kids, that's trying to go higher here. I don't trust it. Market straight up out of the gate. Oh my. 749.5 is where the S&P is stopping. It might be too earlier to say that it's stopping at all.
Yeah, so far these movers from this morning not doing a whole lot yet.
Here's Pew. This is one of the, someone was asking about this. This basically went right to the VWAP. We're at it right here. SPY did stop at 749.50.
That's where I'm looking at some of the other names that we were talking about. Lucy, SDOT, SBEV, Wolf, Bar Pop and Drops.
Yeah, and then Kathy here, Belgium is challenging FIFA's reversal of the red card. I would totally expect that. The way I think about this right now, I'm bullish on the U.S. whether they have Balogun or not. We'll see how it plays out. Games tonight. We got a lot of time before now and then. Sear, this is another one of the movers that we talked about. This actually looks like maybe it's trying to push higher here. It is so far holding the 15 EMA. It's extended from its VWAP. And then ZCMD, this is another one of those movers there. This actually did trade up. Can't get above its VWAP yet. I'm going to totally pass on this one, just FYI. By the way, SPY did come back in. Dara, I know you said that the SPY might pull right out of the open. We got the opposite of that, but it's retracing some of that stick. And remember, Anne-Marie said, wouldn't be surprised if this rolls back over here. I think it's too early to make a call on that just yet. No signal on my indicator. I'll keep you posted on that.
Yeah, we're still struggling on SPY. We're still struggling with that 750 area. So we hit 749.49 this morning. Previous all-time high back from May 14th was 749.53. So I think that's the level that to watch for there. Also struggling with this with the trend line that I've had marked off for a while. Still haven't been able to close above that despite now 4 days in a row trading above it, but no closes above it yet. I'm going to get this wrong all morning. FXHO, halt to the upside, dipped beneath the 200 EMA out of the gate and then shot up here. So just something to keep an eye on once we unhalt. Let's look at some of these other ones. Look like they also tried to push up. They didn't halt. ZCMD tried to do that. LHSW also tried to push higher out of the gate.
Lucy? By the way, Lucy, right at the VWAP, you talked about this one right out of the open. This went right to the VWAP. Now, it couldn't break that in the pre-market earlier, and so far it's finding resistance there. So take that with a grain of salt. SPY trying to go back to the highs.
And it looks like if Lucy does get over this VWAP here, there's going to be some resistance around the 120 area.
Okay, a couple of things here. Number one, Bank of America, this higher here. We talked about financials briefly last week. 13, you talked about the XLF, I believe having a potential golden cross. I think Jay Rice, who's not with us here this morning, said that He was bullish on all of the financials. Bank of America, nice move higher here out of the gate. Goldman Sachs, same deal, 2.5% move higher here out of the gate. 13, I'm going to do a quick peek back at the XLF chart here. I want to see what, okay, so look at this. So we have not yet had the golden cross, but 13, give me your opinion on this real quick. We are approaching all-time highs here, potential golden cross on XLF. You think we break this and go higher?
I would say that if we do break this and go higher, it's going to be probably short-lived. We're already very, I wouldn't say very extended. We're already extended. We're overbought now. So to break beyond 56, which is the next big level that I have here, and to go higher would take us further in that territory. So I could see us extending higher, but I also think that we're going to come back in pretty steeply too, being that we're already in extended territory and we're looking for a breakout into further extended territory. That would be my expectation.
Okay. All right. We'll see if we get it here with XLF. Let me go back to the main chart here. I did also notice that Apple is trading higher here. I think Apple. So what do we think? Yeah. So I think Apple, you're looking at excuse me. Sorry about that. You're looking at a potential breakout here on Apple. I think this is above like 309.40, 309.50. Possible breakout here on Apple. It is stopping there, but maybe keep an eye on this. Highs from Thursday on Apple. Let me have a sip of tea here. Sorry about that cough. Ooh, we're seeing A-Lab calls get bought. Multiple sweeps here in size. Boy, over 1.5 million here on A-Lab. These are going to be the 490. 490 calls. They expire in August. Multiple sweeps. A-Lab. Holy smokes, 1.42 million, and then a 633 and an 800K. Big time bullish call sweeps here. ALAB to the upside.
Let's see here.
A-Lab is hot, G-Man, right out of the gate on the back of those call sweeps. G-Man, do you have any do you have any levels on SPY at all as we pull back here to the VWAP? No signals yet from my indicator, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a whole lot of anything too great right now. It seems like there's like small attempts to go higher, and then they just reverse and come back in. No trades today.
Not yet. Big pull here in the SPY, pull in the Nasdaq as well. Let me actually take a look at the Qs because I gave you a tweet on that one earlier. Remember, in the 4 times that the stock has gapped higher since the Qs have been trading over 1%, it has closed green all 4 times from the open. All 4 times from the open. So far here, we're actually lower. Is anyone buying the dip on Qs? And if so, what is the spot on that? Okay, SPY holding here at the 90 EMA. Actually just got a buy signal there on SPY. Did not have my order entry set up.
BJ wants to know what the red card is in soccer, and I think the simplest way I can explain it is it's a severe penalty for something egregious, and usually it leads to 1-game suspensions.
It leads you to being thrown out of the game it was issued, plus a 1-game suspension. The thing that makes this scenario very unique, other than obviously the phone call that has everyone's feathers ruffled, is that no card was assigned in play. And it was actually VAR, which is the review process for soccer, that assigned the card. And that is actually against FIFA rules, which was part of the argument. But again, I'm going to let them figure it out. I think the U.S. has a good chance either way, frankly.
Lucy is over its VWAP, trying to push higher, facing some resistance at 120.
This peaked above its VWAP twice, but really hasn't been able to extend that run yet. That's actually a really good mention. IREN, which several of you folks were mentioning already, looks like that was just briefly on the scanner here. IREN higher out of the open.
Looks like FXHO unhalted and went into another halt as it approached the 65 EMA. This probably is going to do a lot of this until it gets probably quite a bit. But that's now what's happening with FXHO. Lucy's still trying to recapture VWAP. Looks like SBEV lost its VWAP. This SBEV looks like this could come back in some more. Nothing else looking spectacular.
SBEV, this is the 20-cent. So this is the penny stock du jour. It's actually has made a decent move off the lows, but
yeah,
penny stock, just keep it in the back of your mind. Know what you're trading. Know what you're trading.
Yeah, I only brought this one up because it's something we've traded before.
Someone else asked about Oracle earlier. Here's Oracle. Oh boy, Oracle giving back all of its morning pop here. Now this closed at about 140 on Thursday. That might be a spot here today, but more than that, look at the. In fact, let me go back to the bigger chart here, 13, because we've been charting Oracle for a long time, and it is actually at one of these levels. Let's see where we're at here on this. Here's what you need to pay attention to on Oracle. We had this support trend line. This is a multi-year trend line that has acted as very, very stiff support that has now broken it. So I want to see a recapture of this.
Yeah, it's been trying to recapture it for 3 days. This is the third day.
So
very oversold. We're down here under 30 RSI, trying to find its footing. So I wouldn't be surprised if this did recapture it. But it seems like there's been a lot more selling volume than buying volume. So I would need to see the price get its footing. I don't know that these past 2 days are enough for me.
I think that you are. I think you can wait on this one too. I think you're taking a risk here, which is fine. I mean, if that's what your risk profile allows you for, maybe trade it against one of these other lows, maybe like 130, 135. To me, though, I think you can probably wait this one out. I don't know that you need to go after Oracle here today.
And you also have ex-dividend in 4 days. Maybe
there you go. That might be what to wait it out for. That's a good point.
Yeah, you might want to wait that out.
Really good point. Let me check back in on A-Lab, because that was hot here this morning on the back of those call sweeps. That's actually still near the highs here, 440. I haven't seen any others on that. I am seeing some Tesla calls here. 990 Tesla calls. What? For January? Okay, that is a big time. Anne-Marie, if you're still out there, let me know what you think of this. Big time out of the money calls getting bought here. 990 for January of 2027. That's Tesla, ticker TSLA.
For how much? Like, what was the strike?
Strike's 990, dude. That's like a triple almost. Well, maybe not a triple. It's almost 400, so more than a double.
I might be completely wrong about this, but to me that sounds like an expectation of takeover.
I mean, you could also make the case, I suppose, if you were on the other side of this, that you might be selling calls up there. I don't.
If you're selling calls,
Anne-Marie, let me know. But I'm not chasing that trade.
It's gonna. I mean, it sounds like it's one of two things.
Dara agrees with you. Dara agrees. You guys are having the exact same thought right here.
And it's going to be either that, or they're going to have some news so spectacular, like it might be about Optimus or something. I don't know if RoboTaxi would drive it up to that price, but it could be like something about Optimus and he's saying, yeah, we finished the first 1,000 units. Here they are. They're going to these customers. I mean, that'd be cool, but I don't think that they're that far along yet. If I don't know exactly what to expect for 990 prints, but I would think more on the side of a takeover.
Yeah, and Anne-Marie is saying, interesting. Let me see if they're structuring a complex spread. Appreciate this. And again, I'm just kind of reacting to this in the moment. There was also a question here, Rick saying, why has nobody talked about S? Well, funny that you mentioned that, because I'm actually seeing S call sweeps. These are for the September monthly. It looks like there were repeat sweeps there. They're not terribly big. Here's S, Sentinel-1. This is a cybersecurity name. This is up straight away out of the gate here on good volume. Let me see if there was any news on this. I hadn't looked at this earlier. Don't see any news here. Let's see if there's any insider transactions. What was the month of that position? That was January of 2027, Anne-Marie. So no buys here for Sentinel-1, but a nice move here, 4.6. Rick, do you have anything on why this is the case? I'm in day 8 of my swing and I'm killing it. What was the catalyst for said swing? And actually, here you are at a resistance point. What happens at this resistance area? Are you taking gains here? Are you trimming some of your position? Are you looking for maybe a break and a test of 20 on this? Let me know, Rick. This is good. We don't often cover S here, so appreciate you bringing this to the group.
I'm trying to understand what this description of this is for the Singularity platform. I wonder if that's what he's trading this on. Let me look into the Singularity.
He went on to say here it's a cybersecurity name in a hot swing. And Rick, I absolutely love this as far as like the trade setup here. I trimmed a third of my swing at the highs today. That would have been the resistance area from the daily chart. As far as like how you're managing the trade, I think that's well done. Selling some right at resistance and then sticking around for the theme trade there. I mean, I like the plan.
I think this candle for Lucy is either going to be the one that breaks out, or if we result in another set of upper shadows here, then I think this could be the one that sends it lower. So this is, I think, a crucial moment for Lucy here. Does it go higher, or do we reject and start heading lower today? Oh, it might go higher.
SPY is trying to trade higher here. It's trying to get through 748.50. And also, so Lucy is trying to go higher there. There was a good mention. Rivian just popped big. That I think Pete was on that from last week on Thursday. Rivian actually had a pretty good day on Thursday, if I recall correctly. Yeah, it did. And look, so now Retro looks like maybe we're going to test the top end of that range there. 1950, I want to say just because of the round number, but in reality, it's 1980 was your top. Actually, it looks pretty decent after that move it made on Friday. By the way, SPY now did go through 749 there. And I did get a buy signal at the bottom late to that, though. Sorry about that, folks. And that first trade got a sell signal shortly after it. That wasn't any good. That was about flat. I see that they're showing Trump on CNBC, and he's talking about the Trump accounts. They also have Vlad Tenev on a split screen, so that would be Hood here. Here's Hood. Looks like this basically dipped to where it closed and then bounced. We'll see if it can get above the pre-market high. I'm going to say 115 for Hood. You also have 120, which would have been your high from Thursday. Boy, we're seeing more Tesla calls flow here, but these are much more realistic. These are near-term calls this week or today, and they're all in the 400s. So, man, look at the action on Tesla. Straight down out of the open, big bounce to the highs, flirting with 400 right now.
I feel like
other people saw that big sweep.
I feel like some of that with Tesla is probably off of what Rivian's getting here, because they're kind of citing the same thing. And you also have Gary Black saying that he expects Tesla to rebound ahead of earnings.
Okay.
So I think, I mean, there may be some more in there that he said about Teslas that could be causing this to move.
Lucy continuing its move now, 120. We talked about that, maybe potentially being a level.
Mm-hmm.
And LHSW, the China pump, held its VWAP. Seeing Dell calls get bought here.
Looks like
it's not a big trade. Sorry, 13.
Some of the quantum names are they dropped out of the gate and then they're recovering, so they're coming back up to some of the pre-market levels. What's crypto doing? How's Bitcoin looking this morning?
Now that's it. Okay, I'm glad that you brought that up. Thank you for reminding me. Crypto was interesting. Crypto looked like last night, crypto looked like it wanted to go higher. Now, since then, it steadily bled back, and this morning it actually plunged 13, so it looks like it held 60K so far.
Yeah, and I already expect this to find a bottom by November or December this year and start trading better next year. So the bottom, I don't know if it's in or not yet, but I think if it's not, we're close to finding it soon.
Folks, Apple calls getting bought here too. It looks like there was a closing trade there as well. I actually wonder if this is part of a spread, Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, I'm gonna slack you some of these stats from these unusual options here. That to me looks odd. Not sure what to make of it. Now, we did talk about Apple potential breakout above 309.40, and it did test that area. Lion, take care. Go US. Who are you rooting for in the Portugal game?
Take care, Lion. The only game I'm looking forward to is England, Norway. That's going to be fantastic.
Oh man, yeah, it is. When is that game?
I think that's
Thursday?
the 11th. I think that's the 11th. I'll have to double check that, but I think it's on the 11th.
Okay, that's Saturday then. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's when it is. Blue Owl, ticker OWL. This is coming up to the highs from Thursday. So we could see a break past that 953 level.
Oh, yeah.
So this thing popped, went to 953, dropped, and went sideways all day on Thursday, continued into the after hours and the pre-market this morning. Here we are coming back up to this level. We could see 10. If we blow past these highs, we could see 10.
All right, good mention there, Jenny, on Owl, and this is a key spot. Ed, what are you doing on Owl? You hate this stack. Would love to know if you're shorting it at this resistance area. Lion says, I like both teams, but I love Portugal. Okay, well, Lion's going to Portugal then. We'll see if Ronaldo can net any more goals today.
And that might be that'll probably be a fun World Cup next time in 2030 when you have Portugal, Spain, and Morocco hosting.
And Ronaldo won't be a part of that. Remember, he announced his retirement. He's 41. That's to be expected. By the way, El-Erian, guys, this has continued here. El-Erian plus 13.5%. Looks like the market is kind of bullish on the potential Australian data center footprint that we talked about earlier. Tesla, tons of repeat call sweeps here. These are all near-term call sweeps, and the strike price is right around where we're at. These seem like active traders to me.
I think you're going to continue to see more appetite for existing capacity, existing compute. People are, there's a lot of pushback on building out more data centers. So you have companies now looking to lease out some of that compute that's already built, already exists. I think that's what's happened. That's what's going to happen.
Okay, real quick, I have to confirm this before Lion leads. This is the only reason I'm interrupting you, 13. Lion here says, and you and 13 are invited, Ryan. So are you responding to the next World Cup being in Spain, Morocco, Portugal? You are formally inviting 13 and I? Because if that's the case, we'll start booking plans now. We'll start booking plans right now.
Oh,
news on Dell?
Zach he's just saying that. Yep.
Lion says yes, confirmed. 13, clear the books. 2030 World Cup, you and me, we're going to party it up with the Atlas Lion Atlas.
All right. Coupang, I'm being asked about. CPNG. I had to look at this before I forgot. This is retail.
And by the way, real quick on that, those Tesla call sweeps that we were talking about earlier, I said I'd get Anne-Marie's opinion. She's kind enough to take a look at that. She says it looks like a spread. And keep in mind, folks, when we're giving you our thoughts here, not guaranteed. We're not telling you what to do. We're just trying to use our expertise and pass that along to you. Thank you, Anne-Marie.
So I'm just looking at Coupang here. I know of this one. I don't think I ever really took a good look at it. Rocket Delivery Services is interesting here for this. That's kind of like what Amazon, I think, did at one point with their grocery store angle, right? To try to do fresh delivery. I don't think they do that anymore, do they? Getting a big mention here on Bloom Energy, by the way.
Yeah, I'll put that on screen here. I don't know. I always pick out my own produce. That's not something I'd ever really look into. I think they did when their partnership with Whole Foods, though, 13. I think that was part of the synergy.
Yeah,
it's the fresh food delivery.
So here, I'll just briefly talk about Coupang real quick here and give my thoughts on where I think it could go. There's a few things here that have drawn my attention. One is going to be a potential trend line here that starts from the high of May 6th this year and draw it through the high of June 17th. That's a trend line I'd like to see broken. And if we do break it, that should lead to this gap fill from May 5th to May 6th. So that would be the first two things to me that looks like could happen and I'd be wanting to see. You also have a silver cross happening here. Should happen maybe tomorrow or sometime later this week. But to me, this all looks like if you get everything that you want to happen here, the silver cross, that break of the trend line, the gap fill, there's a potential for this to maybe go up to 22. I don't know if I would feel comfortable about looking for targets beyond that, because for now I would want to see those other things happen. I want to see that silver cross. I'm sure that's going to happen. I want to see the break of that trend line. That looks like that could happen. And if we do get that break of the trend line, we get that gap fill. So those are the next things I would want to see first. And that takes us just over 20 if we get all that.
Good stuff there on Coupang. Real quick here, Alexi said, yeah, the Whole Foods does great fresh food delivery, so they must still do that there. Joe, can you define the spread play? Yeah, so that was... the only thing I can determine here is the strikes for you. So it looks like 290 is the downside strike and 315 is the upside strike of that spread. I can't define it any more than that, unless Anne Marie has more insight on that.
Wow. TE from last week. This was mentioned. I think it was one of the movers. This thing was sinking, or it rocketed out of the gate, went up to $10, and it sank all morning, went down to 814. Again, this is kind of rocketing out after it briefly sank out of the gate, looking for $9. Now, just be aware of, might do the same thing it did on Thursday, where it dropped, rocketed, and then it sank the rest of the day before it found support.
Seeing a lot of call names and call buying, in some of the tech names. NVIDIA, which went lower out of the open and then bounced nicely. That has some call buying. Broadcom has some call buying. Gary, I think you were on top of this earlier. Broadcom shares are trading higher following reports suggesting the company and Apple will expand their partnership through 2031 to supply and develop custom chips. Broadcom at the highs on the back of that news.
Yeah, and that's great too, because Broadcom was looking like it was at the risk of losing its 200-day SMA. Now we have a reversal off that, but we're still dealing with the 20-day SMA as resistance. But I think that would be the next thing I'd be watching for, is a recapture of that 20-day SMA. But nice reversal off of the 200 with that news. And
this Marvell intraday chart, this looks like this is trying to break 256 and move to the upside here. That's MRVL. By the way, SPY pulled back to its VWAP here. Nasdaq still higher by 1.4%. IREN keeps going up. We talked about the potential news there on IREN, or potential view on IREN. Also some call flow on that. Here's your IREN chart, 44. Nice. I'll tell you what, this is a nice low from Thursday to where we are now, 6 points. It's a nice little move there. Palantir getting mentioned.
Looks like
ELTR.
Yeah.
Palantir up 2%, 2+% here. Still looking at really Thursday's highs here. 133 looks to be the spot there. PLTR.
I know I might sound crazy, but I'm still not giving up on 90. I still think that that's possible. We have had a nice, several days of recapturing some levels. Haven't gone back above the 50-day SMA. Still haven't gone back above 142. And I have a channel here that we're also in that we haven't crossed the midpoint yet. So, I still could see the price climbing, higher than where it's at right now. But I don't think that the bottom is in. I think it's just another one of these mini bounces that we've had before. That lead to some kind of sideways action before it goes lower. So still looking at $90 as my target. Looking at HIMS now.
Yeah, because someone had asked about HIMS earlier. I noticed it was on the scanner. I couldn't get to it earlier. Interestingly enough, though, we're basically right at Wednesday's high. So this is definitely going to be a resistance point. Stock's up 4%. Someone was asking earlier if there was news on HIMS. I don't have any. The last fresh news I have came from July 1st, and it was analyst price target re-ratings here.
This looks great on a daily chart and probably a weekly chart. I'm not so sure on a monthly chart. And I think the test for me is going to be whether or not we can get back above 41. But this is looking really good on the daily chart. It's shaping up to, set up for a golden cross in the future. Probably, maybe next month if the price stays above the 200. It is getting a little extended up here, so I would think that at some point soon, maybe we do go to 41 or 40 and get rejected there, and that would allow the price to cool off because it's already on a daily chart. It's already at 70 RSI, so we're already pretty extended here, and I think we could see some pullback pretty soon. So let's see if it gets to 41, and if it does, I think that might be one of the pullback spots, but also a spot where we could break out later on if we hold 34.
Okay. Interestingly enough, this is more of a chuckle for me than anything else. Ondas calls getting bought here. The 30 calls that expire in January of 2028. Trader loaded up on 400 of those calls, only cost him $50. That seems like an optimistic bet. Just going to throw that out there. Ondas is up nearly 4% here today.
Now, another story that I'm keeping my eyes on is going to be in the gaming space. And it has to do with a lot of it has to do with Sony and their recent announcement that they're no longer going to be making physical games. That has really soured the gaming community on Sony. Now, I know that it's great for the stock because it means less manufacturing costs for them. It potentially means easier means of revenue, and they've also recently announced that they're going to be issuing American dollar denominated bonds to raise capital. So I think in the near term you could see the price in Sony rise, but with all the developments that have been happening lately with Sony, with their losing, basically stealing from people, let's just call it that. Basically, what they're doing is people that have bought movies or TV shows on online through PlayStation, they're basically being removed and saying, you don't really own this. This is just a license to view it, and when we are not able to view to provide that content anymore, it's gone, and thanks for your money. That's basically it. Lots of folks are really upset with Sony. They've already been upset with Microsoft when Xbox raised their Xbox Live prices last year. That saw millions of players leave Xbox Live. I could see the same thing with Sony happening. So I could get into this a lot more, but I think Sony might be in a little bit of trouble here with their largest reporting segment, which is gaming and networking.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to add on to this. The big thing that has me worried, that would actually have me looking more into the trading aspect of this, if this starts to spread to other things like Amazon deleting what you have in your digital library or telling you that you can't watch it anymore, that to me, I think you're going to hit more people on that. And the effects from that are going to be much more severely felt. It's interesting that you mentioned Xbox in there. Do you think this has any impact on Microsoft, or there's just too many other irons in the fire for that to really be important?
I don't recall their Xbox division as being as big of a reported segment as Sony does. Like for Sony, it's like 40% of their revenue comes from that.
Got it.
I don't know what it is for Microsoft, but I'm pretty sure it's not 40%. Yeah. I think most of their revenue is in software and cloud, and AI. So I don't think that's going to be as bad for Microsoft. I think the real winner here is going to end up being Nintendo, because they still make physical games and they have a very big presence in the retail space. They are not changing any plans to make their games physical. To make them digital. They're going to keep them physical. So I think by default, you might see a lot of appeal fly back into Nintendo. And they also have the most recognizable IP, and there's a lot of other subcultures and and secondary markets where they trade, games and figurines, things you can actually hold, things that are real.
Things that can't be turned off remotely.
Yeah, things that can't be taken away from you by the company saying, oh, you don't own this anymore. So I think that's going to really start to gain a lot of appeal from people that are buying, video games. And I think that's something, it might take some time, but I think that's something to watch for with Sony and Nintendo and maybe some of these other video game stocks.
Definitely a larger thing here to pay attention to. I'm with you on that. Real quick, just to kind of tie this off and put a bow on it, Microsoft's gaming revenue was about 8.3% of total revenue. Yeah. So if you want some numbers, their gaming division saw 23.46 billion in revenue. Their total revenue, 281 billion. Much, much lower. You're spot on with that, 13.
So just something to watch for here in the gaming industry.
No question. And Open Door. This is right back at the highs. So I know we got asked about this earlier. We're running into the highs from Thursday and Wednesday. That's going to be your next spot. We are above 5 here.
That's a
I heard that from my ex-wife, says Jay Wild. Quote, you don't own that anymore. End quote. LOL. I'm sorry, man.
Dara brought up a great point. If buying it's owning, then piracy isn't stealing. The point is that if they're able to just sell you this and only give you access and literally say that you don't own this, you just have a license for it that we can take away at any time. Well, then, yeah, it really makes a great case that piracy could come back as a result of that.
Yeah,
in a big way. So,
Rivian actually taking its next leg higher. We talked about $19.50, maybe $20 being the next spot here for Rivian. Here we go. Volume actually still looking pretty decent here on Rivian as well.
Looking for Lucy. It's still hanging out up here, trying to get through that 120. We did discuss how that was going to be a resistance area. So far it is, but it is holding above the VWAP. So as long as that continues, should see another attempt to try and get through 120. Current high that was from the pre-market, 137. And another stock that's had a great price action this morning. We talked about it earlier, Bello. That dropped down to 1491, reversed, and then it hit 1608. So trying to recover here after dipping under 15 briefly. Still wouldn't say that, oh, yeah, that's as low as it's going to go. I still maintain that we could see that 200-day SMA. It just might take a little time. But I still like Velo a lot, and I still own it.
All right, good stuff there on Velo. Derek here saying, I think all of gaming is headed to all digital, and you don't actually own the game. Actually, you know what? 13 has kind of talked about this recently too. Grand Theft Auto 6 that's coming out here. This might be a really big test of this thesis.
Yep, big litmus test with Grand Theft Auto 6. And to your point, that might be the case with a lot of these companies. So far, it's not the case with Nintendo, though. I'm not going to say, oh, they'll never do that. They certainly could end up doing that at some point, but for now, they're not. And I think that's smart because when you maintain that retail presence, that people can go and look and shop around, I think that does more for your business and get more. It gives you more brand equity than just, you only can find this online. You have to go online to get this. You have to have a computer with an internet access, and then you can go and get this. Or you can just walk into a store and get it. I know that the appeal of brick and mortar is going away, but it's not completely gone. And there are still a significant number of people that like to go into stores and look at things before they buy them. I think that's where Nintendo's strength is going to be.
Yeah, no question. I love this. That privacy guy, friendly neighborhood tech attorney here. Welcome. We will take your expertise anytime. There's a lot of fine print that people don't read on those digital assets. Generally speaking, unless you see the words perpetual or non-revocable, it is a license. And so what it might be the case then, that privacy guy, is that as more people are spurned by this model, you might see less appetite for this model. And if that impacts margins, you might see some of this language and legalese change. Trey here. And look, I know this is one person knee-jerk reaction. Take it with a grain of salt. I don't think Trey's going to be alone here. This talk may just talk me into buying an emulator that has 15,000 games on it. And the classics, the ones that you like, not one of these new games that maybe is not all that great.
To the privacy guy's point, I mean, you already have, as of now, you already have a ton of people looking at the fine print and getting all up in arms about this. And, to pretty much their fault they didn't look at this earlier, but you're correct. And now that they are looking at this, these contracts or these agreements much more finely, and they're getting upset about it, it's creating an atmosphere that that could cause the appeal with digital only gaming to go the opposite way. We'll see how it all shakes out. Like I said, short term might be good for Sony. Longer term may be more problematic.
Another good point here by Dara. What about the EU markets? The laws are different there. It'll be something else to keep your eye on as far as news flow goes. It'll be interesting to see how one country's decision impacts another.
Yeah, and I think they're a little bit more strict on their regulations over there. I mean, just look at the hurdles. Activision Blizzard had to go through with Microsoft in order to get EU approval. So I think that's a great point. And all those different markets may collectively come down on Sony as a result, but still have a lot of time before this could all shake out. Yeah, but something to keep an eye on, because this has been just a very fast outrage that has been building over the past week, and it came to a head over the July 4th holiday. So,
and we have a huge title being released this year that's going to impact this. It's not going away, to your point. By the way, Lucy here did peak above 120 briefly there. We talked about that being a key spot. I think 122 was the high we just saw flashed on the screen. Kathy also monitoring CRDO, which is up 14% here today. This right to its high from Thursday, as well as the high that I believe this was Tuesday of last week.
Yeah, lots of pulling here that I'm noticing across the board after we hit a certain level. Doesn't look like we're quite done, but a lot of names that we're watching kind of pulled at that moment. We saw Lucy pushing up to 120.
And Jenny, I think your next spot here is 137. Personally, Pot G, take care. Enjoy the game tonight. No shade. Seriously, enjoy the game. Have a great one. We'll see you tomorrow.
I would say 137 is the next spot for Lucy. But still, it hasn't been able to close over 120. So need to see that happen first.
And it just came back into its VWAP as we speak. Yep.
Looking around here.
Sorry, really quick. Kids, that was still up near some of the highs. INLF. I'm pretty sure I saw Wiss talking about this earlier. This is a super thin China name that has been halted 4 times already today. I'm going to skip this, but this one is trading up off the bottom, right into the consolidation area from last week.
There's no way that's the float. Hold on a second. There's no way.
Morningstar's pull as 12.9, but we think it's lower than that, right?
Okay, so Morningstar is 12.9. Okay, my broker says it's 1,000 shares.
Yeah, that's too low.
I was like, there's just no way. Well, it's open right now, trying to get above its VWAP. It looks like 660 is the resistance right now.
INLF. Let's see. No, the float doesn't have any data for that. So we're going to have to go with our best guess there. You're welcome, Jenny.
Be careful with stuff like that.
Okay, and let's take a look at the SPY. So SPY here under 749. Boy, I tell you what, there's not great action here. A lot of back and forth action. Maybe that if that's what you like trading, but otherwise here sure looks like that 749.5. That's going to be the spot. And then we've got 750, 751 and change. Trevor also mentioning GEV. I think Kathy brought that up earlier. GEV new all-time highs today.
Yeah, it looks like it just peaked above that and came back in. The all-time high now, it's like just less than $5 shy of 1,200. Yeah, that was we talked about this coming in and where the good spot would be. We were like, oh yeah, under 850 might be great. It went down to 856. Almost hit our spot. Didn't quite get down there, but that was the all that it needed, because it pulled it down to about under 30 RSI. And that was the signal. That was it. After that day, we turned around and we have not looked back since.
SPY turning up here, by the way. SPY looking like this might try and push higher. Luis saying, could you guys give me your take on Comcast, please? Ticker CMCSA. Well, you already know what mine is, bro. You already know what my take on Comcast is. I don't like it. Looks like this is testing 23 to the downside. I don't own the stock. I don't like the stock. I don't like the company. I'm pigeonholed into using the company. I am what you call biased towards this. So I would look for someone's unbiased opinion on the stock.
Oh,
And
gosh.
really quickly, while you're forming your opinion there, Picasa Bro saying, what is Apple trying to do? We talked about Apple trying to potentially break out through 309.40. I know we're holding above that now. It's trying to really break through and go on a run to the upside. All right, 13. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. To me, this looks like it's in a falling wedge. I just don't know how much more it's going to trade it down into this thing. If you look at a monthly chart, I'm sure you'll figure the drawing for it.
Yep. We'll start with the upside trend line.
Yeah. To me, it also looks like you have resistance at $30. That might be tough to get through. The last time it was, trying to recapture 30 and earlier this year, 3 months, it just was constantly rejected, especially at that 20-month SMA. No closes. Looks like, well, we did get that we get February to close over that, but then the next 2 months were just lower. Didn't close above it. So I would say $30 is resistance. We're down at a support area around, I think I would say 22. What's this low here? Yeah, I would say 22 is probably support for now. But if we go much lower than that, we're falling out of this wedge, and then I don't think this wedge would be bullish anymore. Falling wedges tend to be bullish because they typically result in a breakout to the upside. But we still need to get past 30 and two moving averages, the 20 and the 200 on the monthly chart. And I don't know that this is necessarily turning around yet. But if it does, like I said, $30 is resistance in my view here. So
all right.
That's what I would give. Yeah.
Trey saying, unbiased opinion, the internet side weakness limits the upside of the parks. A split could create much value, but I'm not sure how much. I appreciate you trying to give that a legit answer there.
Stock split?
Yeah, I think that I think or his spinoff might be what he's talking about.
Now a spinoff would make separating services, and I think that would be a better. I don't think they need to do a split. The price is $23.28.
I think that's what he meant. Don't quote me. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think that's what he's referring to.
Yeah, I would think that a spinoff of some of their less profitable or less core businesses would make sense. I could see that. I don't know what it is that they would spin off. I haven't looked into that, but that's what I would expect.
Real quick here. Next, another question here on Meta. I think Hernandrex. I think that's pretty cool. What do you think of Meta, the data center acquisition? So we talked about this when the news first came here. We said, yeah, this could be good here, but don't really feel all that strongly about it. The trading action has kind of reaffirmed that. This thing basically just gave that right back. Now, we are still in the gap. We have not filled this gap to the downside. What I'd like to see here on Meta, if you're bullish on Meta, here's what I would like to see. This might sound counterintuitive. I want to see a pullback down towards 560. Fill that gap, hold this area, put in what looks like either a triple bottom or a really stiff support area here at 560, and then start using some of the moving averages as mile markers to capture on the way back up to breaking that trend. Now, that assumes a lot. I don't know that we're going to get that. To me, this is going to be about this gap fill here. We're above the 20, that value, 574.62. I could easily see this coming into 560.
I think you have support at 575.
Okay.
And if we don't get that support, then I agree with that gap fill to the downside.
So there you go. That just adds another level there. That's perfect. 575, 560, your two downside levels.
And here's where I'm getting that from. You see it right there, the 20-day SMA.
Right here. Yep.
Yeah. So that was formerly
and look, resistance. It lines up with other levels. So.
Yeah, it was formerly resistance. we broke above it with that gap, and that would be coming down to test it as support. So that's why what I would want to see if I'm bullish on this is I want to see that former resistance area that's now become support. I want to see it act as support. So that 575 has to hold. And if we do not close above 575 or we start to lose that level, I don't only think that we're going to see that gap fill. We could also potentially see lower prices.
Okay.
Like lower than the gap fill. So.
Yeah, a break of 560. I think that puts 486 on.
Oh, okay. So Trey was talking about the CSM Comcast. They are talking about a spinoff. What of what exactly? You know, their what segment they're trying to spin off?
He said that was posted in the news. I might be able to pull this here for you. Comcast NBC Universal spinoff increases the potential for merger with the telecom giant. We view the announcement as a major positive. We are adding that the split from NBC Universal could create a greater strategic optionality, including a potential merger with Charter Communications, ticker CHTR.
Okay. So they're trying to, okay, that makes sense.
So they're trying to spin off NBC Universal.
Yeah, and they're trying to
retain about a 20% stake in that.
And basically create a whole, other piece guy, basically. Meanwhile, you would have a essentially just a cable company trying to merge with a larger cable company. That makes sense to me. And it's tax efficient, so it helps out the shareholders.
Apple, guys, we did get that break. All right, we broke out on Apple. This is a straight up a breakout on Apple. 309.40 was the spot. We also talked about a potential trade here on the Qs here today. Remember, the stats that we had is that it was always higher from the open. Qs not disappointing here today. Not disappointing. Also, that 710 low from Thursday. Boy, if you bought that, you're dancing on the table like Lion Atlas here today.
One of the movers from this morning, LHSW. This was the one that had the trend line. It popped over it. Fell out of the gate, but we got support from that level. We were pointing out that 575 area, and now it's coming back up to the trend line. Volume doesn't appear to be as great as it was before, so I don't know if we're going to see the other side of that trend line, but just thought it would be worth mentioning here in case volume does continue to expand.
Okay, added that. And then S, Rick, appreciate it. S, it's been showing relative strength with SPY and the Qs last week, and with cybersecurity names really heating up. It just made sense. Look, I like it. And we talked a couple weeks ago. We've talked about this several times here on the show. We've talked about Palo Alto really being the best in breed when it comes for cybersecurity. This actually was the best trade of the year on an insider transaction. $10 million bought, I think, in a 170 handle earlier on PanW. This thing almost 400 again. Just unbelievable. Palo Alto.
SpaceX wants to buy infrastructure for their satellite cell service and might be interested in Lumen, Charter, or the CMCSA Internet Division. Now, does T-Mobile factor into your thoughts there at all? I'm just wondering because there's a lot that I think that I still have to look into when it comes to their what they're trying to do with Starlink and telecoms. They're trying to make it a global internet service eventually. That's going to become kind of a backbone. It's going to take some time, but I think that's what they're trying to go for with all these satellites that continue to push out there. They also just deorbited a bunch of them to make room for some newer ones.
Rivian continuing its push, by the way. We're coming up to the second resistance level of the day.
That's 100% correct, EKS. So I'm wondering, do they want to tap into that existing cell infrastructure, or just basically say, everybody put a SpaceX satellite on your on each one of your buildings and just have it, gain access and have the cell devices in there for indoors. I don't know. I don't know what's going to ultimately be the way that they go. There's a number of things they do, but I don't think there's any question that they're trying to build a global internet with Starlink. All right. Well, it looks like after hitting 120, Lucy has really come in. It's lost VWAP. That might be it for now with that one. Wolf is starting to get going here. This is trying to recapture its VWAP. LHSW, yeah, that's back up at the trend line, trying to push through it. What's up?
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at Trump apparently made a comment on the whole red card issue, and it's very Trump-like. I'll just put it that way, and it'll give you a chuckle if you read it. But it has nothing to do with stocks, unfortunately. So
the greatest card I've ever seen.
It was almost. Anyway, I don't want to go down that road. There's nothing that we can do to impact that. Just looking at a couple of the other stocks that we've been looking at here today. HIMS, this is still holding higher near the resistance area around 38. This made a really good move out of the open. 13, did you have something you wanted me to pull up there?
Oh, just that LHSW just hit the current high of the day, barely. I think it was by like a penny. Oh, maybe a little bit more than that, maybe about 9 pennies. So 774 current high right now. It's backing off of that, but still not able to capture that trend line yet. Okay, so now
just got another sell indicator up here at the highs. And what's interesting about this is that this is right ahead of the 750 resistance area we talked about. So the 0DT indicator flashing a sell from its most recent buy indicator right up here near highs. We'll see if 750 ends up breaking 749.90, your current price there on SPY.
I was asked, levels for QNT because this is still climbing. I still have 70 as a support level. If we go in that direction, looks like 80 could potentially be a support level now. We'll have to wait and see where the price closes today. But there's also a trend line that you can draw from the highs we've been putting in since this debuted on the market, starting with June 4th. You just take that high and the high from June 23rd, and that gives us kind of similar to how with LHSW, a bit of a target for the price to run to that might find resistance at this. If it did that today, it'd be going up to $88. So that's kind of what I would be looking at for a resistance level for now. But we are getting a lot of price action here in a single day. Started with we opened at like around 74, and now we're almost $10 higher. So that's the near term resistance level I'd be keeping an eye on, is that trend line.
Okay, added to the chart here. Yep. We'll see if we end up getting up there. Seeing more Tesla calls. Tesla has continued to grind higher. That has actually had an interesting intraday here. A pull to the lows at 392 and a big time reversal, 14 points, peak to trough on this one.
Looks like BMNR having a good morning here. Just broke higher, starting to put in some new highs for the session. Coming up to the pre-market high, it's trying to anyway, of 1542. Looks like LHSW did get another rejection at that trend line that took it back down close to the VWAP, but it's not beneath VWAP. With the time that we have left, I could spend a quick moment talking about what's coming up for me next month.
Yes, let's do that. So,
folks, we've talked about how there could be some changes coming up soon to some scheduling. And, well, that's going to have to happen with me here pretty soon. I am a father that has some growing young men. I'm going to be a little bit more involved with their lives in the morning. So that's going to mean a bit of a schedule change for me in the mornings here. I'm still going to be coming on the show. But starting August, it's going to be a little bit later that I'll be coming on. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to be with you into the opening bell. Still also going to kind of work through it and see just how soon I can come on in the mornings, because I'm not sure how that's all going to look out. We're going to work out as of yet until their school year starts. But I am going to be coming on later so that I can make some more time for my sons in the morning.
I think that's the right move, 13. We will keep the seat warm for you whenever you can make it on, and we will be flexible as you figure this out. The one thing I think that we might be able to do to kind of turn this into a positive for the group here, maybe at some point, just write down like a checklist of how you break down movers every single day in terms of like the repeatable steps. Sure. And then what I'll try and do in your absence is I'll try and get everyone to do the same type of procedure. Maybe we can kind of walk through that procedure together on a number of these different movers. And the hope here is twofold. Number one, we'll still be able to cover the most amount of stocks as we can. And then number two, we should have some information that we've kind of worked through on our own that we can then compare when you are available. And we can kind of see where we're at there.
And I'll still be in the chat. I'm going to be listening to Ryan in the morning. And I'll also be trying to put in my 2 cents in the chat every now and then. But I'm not leaving. I'm just having a little bit of a schedule change so that I can make some more time for family.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm just going to amplify here not only what you're saying, but also what the chat is saying. Veggie Girl is 100% right. Family will always come first. Folks, I would imagine that each and every one of you that is still sitting here, that is trying to boost your financial future, you're trying to do that for your family, even if your family is small and only 1 or 2 people. This is why we do this. This is the whole reason we go through the ups and downs, is to make a better life for your family. 13, nobody is going to fault you for that. That is for sure. Trey says 13, all good. Glad you're doing that. As the co-host, who's going to be a little bit more under pressure here, I too am glad you're doing that. I know how important family is to you. Corey, same thing. I'd love to learn 13 skills. You bring so much value to the show. Okay, I thought you were going to talk about his kids, but same deal. We'll try to do that. Have your kids on the show is what Joe is suggesting. I don't know if you want to put your kids out on the internet.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day, but maybe not just yet. 13. Well, look, first of all, we'll work through this. I think, again, my main attitude towards everything is we will always try to turn any situation into a positive, and that's exactly what we'll do here. So.
And I do appreciate everybody's comments. It really does mean a lot. And thank you for understanding. I love coming here with you guys and talking stocks and making money. And, I don't want to give that up. So I will be here. It's just going to be a little bit of a different time. And maybe in the future, if I can find my way back here earlier, then that's what I'll do.
All right. We'll use that as a good time to wrap up here. Oh, you don't need this. No.
I'm tiny. All
right. All right. 13 closing words for the group here, buddy.
Hey, another fun in the morning here, and we're going to have more fun ones as we go on this week. So come back here and we'll find some more things to trade. Ooh. So far, looking like it's been a bit of a crypto morning. We'll see how that lasts, but gonna make sure I keep my mind open about things that can happen here. We can always have these prices change on a dime. So just make sure you're paying attention. Make sure you've got your stops ready, and you'll be fine. And I will see everybody tomorrow. Bye-bye.
That was an internet snafu. That happened automatically. That was just really good timing. 13, take care of yourself. We'll see you tomorrow. Yeah. All right, really good stuff. I love this. I love seeing it from the chat. GB Slice, 13, we support you. Family first. Zach says he's never ever going to give up on you. Let's go. That's exactly what we'll go through. Folks, we'll make sure that the time is valuable. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. Have a great rest of your Monday. Go USA.